was simply in a disgusting mood. In truth, all his thoughts were occupied with Tranit. Wu Jin seems to be in a better mood today. The assistant offered the heroes a drink after the raid, to which he readily agreed. This guy has been in the Hammer Guild for 2 years, and today Wu Jin will definitely sign this damn contract while under the influence of alcohol. The assistant suggested one place, and they began to discuss this issue with Wu Jin. Sun Gu thought about it. He knows that no matter how much he sucks up, Wu Jin won't join in, so it's a waste of time. However, when the captain returned, the heroes were no longer there. The assistant said that they went to the dungeon. The captain was angry. How could they go to the dungeon if he was talking about a gift? The assistant and the captain were going to wait for their return, so it would be possible to give it after. Junmin Chan threw his bag. The gift turned out to be a survival kit. The captain asked the assistant how much he thought the F-rank guys entering the 4-star dungeon knew about their dangers. For these dungeons, a D-rank team with a C-rank leader is recommended. Kang Wu Jin is F-rank on paper. With this rate of clearing 3-star dungeons, he should be able to defeat the monsters of this dungeon. But from 4-star to 6-star, dungeons are different from low-level ones. If you go there without information and a survival kit, even a high-ranking person will not return alive. Junmin Chan said that this is the end. They did not help, but literally sent the heroes to the grave. Wu Jin asked if this was really a 4-star dungeon since the monsters they met were too common. Sun Gu replied that he didn't know. Maybe it was just an easy 4-star dungeon. The heroes resigned themselves, and Ugin began searching for the Stone of Return. But there was something strange. There was no Stone of Return here. Sun Gu said that this couldn't happen. Wu Jin thought that his search skill might be too low. Okay, the guys decided to go back and look for more. But there is no stone here. What the hell is going on? Sun Gu showed where the entrance was. The heroes turned their heads and saw a huge portal. Maybe it's because of him that the Stone of Return did not appear. It looks like the heroes need to enter there. And Wu Jin thought why it was so simple. Now the real game begins. Wu Jin and Sun Gu approached the portal and entered it. They found themselves in another dimension with some kind of forest and trees. Suddenly, Wu Jin noticed that Sun Gu was naked and covering himself. The hero asked what he was doing and why he undressed. It turned out that Wu Jin was also naked. It seems that only their bodies were transferred into the dimension, but their clothes remained. Suddenly, they heard some rustling in the distance. But now it looks like a 4-star dungeon. Wu Jin started doing something on his screen. Sun Gu thought about how many skills Wu Jin has because he can even control space and got them clothes. While Sun Gu was getting dressed, he watched what Wu Jin was doing now. Only Wu Jin can see the information on the screen. Wu Jin is currently at level 10. Thanks to the transferred bonuses, its stats are higher than those of a normal level 10, but it is still dangerous in a 4-star dungeon. In the Rakia dungeon, the skills of a necromancer were enough, but there may be strong enemies here, and Ugin will not be able to fight them face to face. Then the hero began to learn new skills, such as Warrior's Intuition, Warrior's Anger, Jump, Charge, and Strong Blow. The heroes began to explore the area and noticed that something was approaching. It turned out to be a monster, a huge crocodile, which immediately attacked the heroes. Wu Jin immediately grabbed his house and rushed back. It turned out to be a level 31 crocodile. The warrior's intuition helped him find out. It's time for Ugin to find out how strong level 31 is. Meanwhile, Junmin Chan and his assistant were waiting for the heroes at the entrance. The barrier still hasn't disappeared. The captain said that time in such dungeons is 4 times faster, so about 2 hours passed there. The assistant asked how long they could hold out, and whether they could at least cope with the crocodile. Karina was unsure of this, because they were bare-handed and without a survival kit. Portals in high-level dungeons do not allow materials from Earth to pass through. The only thing that can be carried through them is things from other dimensions. The captain said that even if they can cope with the monster, the main problem is the lack of food and water. If it is difficult to survive empty-handed in the Amazon jungle, then in the dungeons. The assistant said there was one problem after another. The heroes in another dimension made a fire and began to prepare food for themselves, in particular a crocodile. Wu Jin said that crocodile meat has always been considered a delicacy, and said to try it with beer. Beer goes well with barbecue. Sun Gu was pleased. A lot of time has already passed. The assistant asked if that didn't mean they were able to survive. The captain replied that the crocodile could still be defeated somehow by distracting with calls, but this would not be enough to get across the swamps. The assistant understood what swamps the captain was talking about. The swamps that appear from time to time in the jungle are a death sentence for melee fighters. The legs get stuck, and the Hoko monkeys and swamp anacondas attack at the same time. And only Hong Sung-gu has ranged combat. The heroes reached this point and saw a huge number of monkeys in the trees. However, his fireballs will not be enough to stop the Hoko monkeys. The assistant and the katana were in despair because it was very difficult. Wu Jin and Sun Gu began attacking the monkeys using fireballs. Wu Jin ordered everyone to be burned. Sun Gu was shocked that Wu Jin also had such a skill. Wu Jin sent his skeleton magicians to attack the monsters. The captain and his mate decided to have a snack. 4 hours have already passed. The assistant asked the captain if he thought the heroes would be able to clear the dungeon. Junmin-chan replied that he didn't know, since not only monsters are dangerous in high-level dungeons, but there are also a lot of unfamiliar plants, animals, and insects there. The captain asked the mate how much they knew about that ecosystem. This means that the heroes have a high chance of eating something poisonous. It's all over for them. Sun Gu found some fruit and wanted to eat it because tropical fruits are very sweet. Wu Jin said that if you eat them raw, the guy will die. Sun Gu immediately spat out and asked why Wu Jin didn't warn him earlier. Sun Gu asked how Wu Jin knew all this. The hero replied that the guy should not worry about it. In fact, Wu Jin knows all this because he has lived here for 20 years. It was already dark outside. The captain and his assistant continued to wait for the heroes. The assistant asked if there was a reason why the captain wanted to get Kang Wu Jin, since the guild was not entirely interested in it. The captain replied to Ha Min that over the past 5 years his eyes had never deceived him. The stories of Junmin-chan recruiting rising stars are very famous. After all, he is almost the first person to know about their A-rank Park Jin-woo. Yes, and now the captain is sure that Kang Wu Jin will be cooler than him. Ha Min was shocked. How is this cooler than Park Jin-woo? Therefore, the captain will not be surprised if he does not join them. But he just wants him to return alive, because his death will be a huge loss for humanity. The assistant did not even expect that the captain had such thoughts. Habmin suggested praying together for Wu Jin to return alive. This will not be easy, since the Guardian of the Stone of Return is a truly powerful opponent. Everyone already knows about this, but we still need to pray for their return. The captain said that Wu Jin would most likely die. Hamin thought this was too pessimistic. Wandering around the dimension, the heroes saw the Stone of Return. Finally, they can get out of here. Running towards the stone, Sun Gu almost fell into a trap and died. Wu Jin managed to pull him away. Sun Gu thanked Wu Jin and asked where he was looking. Suddenly, they saw huge evil monsters. Wu Jin didn't expect this. These monsters are Alphan orcs. The population of Alphan consists of a huge number of races. People, elves, dwarves, beastmen, etc. Even orcs. But what are they doing in the dungeon? And then the hero begins to ask the orcs why they are here in their language. Sun Gu didn't know what was going on. Orky asked who the hero was and how he knew their language. Ugin said that it didn't matter, and asked again why the orcs were here. They replied that they had lost their home. It turned out that Tranit defeated them. When the balance was upset, Tranit became the master of everything. And the orcs are here because of the contract with him. Following the contracts, Earth should become the new home of the orcs. Ugin said that Thranit doesn't even own Earth, so what's the point of this contract? Ugin took out his crowbar and told the orcs to say their last words. The chief orc ordered his warriors to attack. They began to menacingly approach the heroes, but this did not frighten them at all. Night has already fallen on Earth. Hamin said that he had a good feeling. 6 hours and 20 minutes had already passed. And the whole day passed in the dungeon. If that's the case, it looks like the heroes will really clear it out. Clear a 4-star dungeon. Suddenly, the captain and mate noticed that the barrier had disappeared. They were expecting something incredible. The captain begged for the heroes to return alive. However, no one came out. It looks like this is the end, and Cardboard suggested returning. How suddenly they heard the voices of the heroes, who were saying that next time they should take the cart. The heroes rose with a huge number of different orc weapons. The captain was incredibly happy and glad to see the heroes alive and congratulated them on their return. Wu Jin asked why Junmin-chan was so happy to see him. The hero was riding in the car and thinking. They realized that a survival kit was not really needed, but the information was very much needed. Wu Jin read that crocodile skin is very expensive, but they threw it away. Wu Jin told Sun Gu to take her next time. Okay, Bloodstones, but now he also has to cut up monster carcasses? Sungu's dream of becoming a fire mage is getting further and further. Suddenly, Woojin noticed someone on the street. Sungu asked what happened. It turned out that it was Jae-min and some girl. Woojin asked Sungu to stop for a second. Woojin called out to Jae-min and waved to him. He asked if Jae-min was on a date. The guy replied that it was just his older sister. Jae-min told her about how Woojin helped him back then. She remembered him and turned to the hero. Woojin looked at the girl. The Hammer Guild planned to make someone vice president. The president was informed that Vice President Park Jin-woo had arrived. The young man entered the office and saw Leader Young with the captain. The captain turned around and said he would go. Jin-woo is confused. Park Jin-woo asked what was wrong with the captain. The leader said that he had no idea and said that Jun-min-chan had noticed one necromancer and now wants him to make him vice president. Jin-woo said that since Leader Young said so, then we should listen. However, the president said that the captain has already lost his touch and has been bringing in only mediocre people lately. The president said that it was pure luck that he spotted Park Jin-woo. The guy told the president not to be so cruel. The president said it didn't matter and asked the guy how things were going in America. The guy replied that judging by the atmosphere, the rumors were true. It seems the Titan protected them. The president thought about it. So the rumors are true. The head of the Titan Guild, awakened A-rank Dean Kun, asked about the person who appeared from the dungeon, about the condition of this girl. The assistant replied that there were no changes yet. She doesn't know their languages and keeps saying a word they can't understand. She added that it was something like PTSD. The head of the guild said that this girl seemed to be the key to finding out the secrets of the dungeons, and she needed to be talked into somehow. 5 years have passed since the dungeons appeared, and they finally found at least some clue. And the girl from the dungeon, looking out the window, repeated the name Kang Woo-jin. In the evening, Jae-min sat at home and did his homework. He was worried that nothing would happen. You never know what's on Woo-jin's mind. The hero invited Jae-min and his sister to eat with them. It turns out that Jae-min's older sister, Ji-won, is Woo-jin's former classmate. The hero did not expect this at all and said how many years, how many winters. Woo-jin said that 5 years have passed and she is still the same beauty. Ji-won became embarrassed and asked what Woo-jin meant. The hero said that the girl is too modest. He revealed that Ji-won was the most popular girl in school, and half the boys were secretly in love with her. The guys continued to praise Ji-won and it made her feel embarrassed. Woo-jin was also one of Ji-won's crushes. She was bright, beautiful, and got along with everyone. The girl wondered if Woo-jin had been so open before. Suddenly the hero asked Ji-won why she was wearing a hat, and asked if maybe she hadn't washed her hair. Ji-won timidly replied that she just liked it that way. It was suspicious. Sungu was surprised by such straightforwardness. Woo-jin asked if Ji-won was hot and maybe he should take off his hat. She replied that everything was fine. Sungu thought about how Woo-jin could ask such a thing from a girl. He realized that his great Woo-jin had probably never dated anyone, and apparently he really liked Ji-won. In this case, such an atmosphere is not good, and Sungu suggested playing a game, since it's boring to drink without games. Woo-jin asked Sungu what game he was talking about. Sungu was having a lot of fun, drinking and singing different songs. The guy continued to fool around and it really bothered Woo-jin. Woo-jin told Sungu to calm down before he broke his shoulders. Sungu immediately fell silent and calmed down, and Ji-won was very drunk and fell asleep right at the table. Suddenly the hat fell from her head and a woman passing by saw it. The woman told other people if they had seen the girl. The woman thought Ji-won had a burn. Sungu and Woo-jin also noticed a large scar-like spot on the girl's forehead. Woo-jin said that there was no need for such a violent reaction, put Ji-won's hat on and said that it wasn't that scary because she was still beautiful. The guys decided to have one more drink and go home. The next morning, Ji-won woke up with a severe headache. She did not immediately understand where she was. Jae-min saw that his sister had woken up. The girl asked her brother how she got here. Jae-min replied that Woo-jin brought it. He told her to go wash up and eat the hangover soup he had prepared. Ji-won went into the bath and, looking in the mirror, realized that she fell asleep without even thinking about the hat, and then she began to remember last night. Still, Woo-jin saw her scar. 5 years ago, when monsters from the dungeon attacked her, Ji-won received this terrible scar. The girl didn't want Woo-jin to see this. She wanted the hero to remember her past. Then she remembered Woo-jin's phrase about how she was still beautiful. The girl was embarrassed, but she was pleased. We find ourselves in Wujin's dream. It's a normal school day. The teacher asks who is on duty today, and the people on duty were Wujin and Jiwan. The teacher told them to clean up the classroom when everyone left. The guys cleaned everything up. Wujin looked embarrassed and awkward. After cleaning, the guys walked along the corridor. Jiwan said that Wujin is so quiet, just like her brother. She said that her brother is going through adolescence, and he answers aha to everything. Wujin didn't answer. Jiwan continued by saying that it was the first time she and Wujin had spoken since the start of second semester. She suggested getting along better from now on. Jiwan stopped the hero and said that she had to tell him something and asked for his ear. But Jiwan didn't have time to finish speaking when Bibi suddenly woke up Wujin. The cat asked how the hero slept. Wujin was unhappy that he woke up. He asked Bibi if she had used any skills on him while he was sleeping. Wujin went down to Sungu on the first floor of the hotel. The guy was working on the computer and asked Wujin how he slept. Wujin mumbled something and asked Sungu if he was looking for a level 4 dungeon. The guy answered positively. Sungu was just in the process, but he said that there weren't that many of them and all the mid-high level guilds had already reserved most of the dungeons. Wujin began to think about what to do. Maybe it's worth clearing the 3rd level dungeon? Suddenly Wujin had an idea. He started dialing a contact called Weakling. The subscriber at the end of the line said that he would arrive now and asked to wait for him a little. Wujin said 15 minutes and no more because he doesn't have time. Sungu asked Wujin who he just called. Wujin asked the guy to guess. Wujin replied that he was calling the person who was returning the favor. It turns out that Wujin called Jun Min-chan. The captain ran in a hurry and apologized for keeping him waiting. Min-chan asked Wujin what he wanted. The guys said that they were looking for a dungeon on the 4th level. The captain said that although many people use the dungeon forum, it is not the best choice. The captain showed the guild's exclusive program. The captain said that this is what their support department specializes in. Junmin Chang asked about what made the heroes stay at this hotel. He added that if the heroes join them, they will be able to stay in any hotel they want. The captain also added that they could provide the heroes with a cozy apartment if they wanted. Again, he took up his task. Unexpectedly, Wujin replied that it sounded really good. Junmin-chan showed the computer and told the heroes to look at the dungeons they could book for today. Ugin said that the guild is really something. Min-chan thanked him for the compliment. The heroes came to the dungeon. Hamin said everything is reserved. The captain told Wujin that since they had time before the reserve, why not have some tea? The captain was hoping to give a short briefing before entering if the heroes don't mind. He is sure it will be useful. The captain added that this information provided by the guild may surprise. Wujin was intrigued. Suddenly, the dungeon reconfiguration began. The heroes saw this for the first time. Junmin-chan told Hamin to hurry up and call the guild. Wujin wondered what this dungeon reconfiguration was all about. A crowd of people and reporters gathered around the dungeon. The entrance to the dungeon is blocked. The captain said it appeared the mine phase was completed. Wujin didn't fully understand what was happening. Junmin-chan said that the status of the dungeon can be divided into 3 categories. The first is mines, the second is reconfiguration, and the last is rupture. The dungeons that the heroes cleared before are called chess. They have been cleared at least once. When this happens, base mobs are spawned, and then miners, called awakened, enter and collect heliotropes. The mine stage lasts about 2-3 months, then it reaches its time limit. Reconfiguration and a new dungeon is created. As the heroes see, Exit 6 of Seoul University has been reconfigured. From now on, many guilds will begin to try to clear the reconfigured dungeon first. Wujin asked if the dungeon was free now. The captain replied yes. Simply put, whoever clears it first gets the dungeon. Wujin wanted to try to do this, nothing is stopping him. Junmin-chan said that this is impossible, since the dungeon of the first clearing is many times more dangerous than those containing ordinary mobs. They are run by guilds. Then Ugin asked the captain if he really wanted the guild to manage the dungeon himself. The captain replied that that was not what he meant. Although the rules say that one person can own a dungeon, but only after measuring its energy so that people can enter. Wujin asked how it was. The captain replied that when the dungeon readjusted, it radiated energy. This is how the dungeon level is determined. Right now, they are going to measure energy. If it is level 4, then rank C if it is 5th, then B. And if the dungeon is level 6, then only units of rank A can enter there. Wu Jin thought about it, because the captain said that he had a rank of C, so he has the privilege of entering the 4th level dungeon. The device showed that this was a level 5 dungeon. Wu Jin got upset, and the captain said that he would have to give up. Suddenly, Team Jia Jack appeared along with Li Yun He. They're pretty fast. It looks like Hwarang will take this dungeon for himself. Wu Jin remembered this girl because she threatened him and told him not to show off his pathetic skills. Now he won't give up so easily. Suddenly, Wu Jin began to approach Li Yun He and said that now that the awakened A rank has arrived, clearing the dungeon will be spit out. The girl was not very happy to see him. The hero approached her and said that she had cool armor. She replied that this was a level 5 dungeon, and Wu Jin had nothing to do here. Let him get lost and not interfere. Wu Jin told Li Yun He not to be such a jerk and just wanted to look at the armor. He began to dig into her armor. The girl asked how dare he and who told him that he could touch her. A whole bunch of people were already crowded around the dungeon. Li Yun He tried to push the hero away and told him to take his hands off her. And then suddenly, Ugin began to fall straight into the dungeon. In fact, he planned it. People began to say that now everything is very bad, and someone has fallen into a dungeon. The hero now finds himself through the portal not in the jungle, but in the desert. He starts walking when suddenly a level 48 sandworm appears out of nowhere. What an aggressive greeting. The hero thinks that level 5 dungeons are not much different from the previous ones. The hero begins to attack the worms, saying that monsters will always remain monsters. But then Ujin is surrounded by a whole bunch of worms. They surround him and wrap him in a ball. But the hero is not lost and uses shape change, thereby cutting the worms into pieces. It's good that after killing the orcs, the hero raised his level, otherwise he would have had problems. Here, a whole bunch of level 46 ball worms begin to attack the hero. The hero tries to attack, but an explosion occurs. Some green smoke starts to come out, and then the hero raises a wall of bones. Another explosion occurs and the hero begins to feel dizzy. Level 5 dungeons are completely different. The hero drinks a potion that removes the poisoning effect from him. People are still standing in a crowd around the dungeon. One of the team members, Li Yun He, says that Wu Jin hangs around there for too long, and it annoys him. Sun Gu replies that Wu Jin is not just hanging around, but clearing out the dungeon. The guy on the team asks how a C-rank idiot can clear a dungeon. The guy also says that Wu Jin is probably hiding there like a coward. This made Sun Gu angry, but the captain calmed him down, saying that they should just trust and wait. Sun Gu fell silent. The captain asked him if Sun Gu really believed that Wu Jin could handle the dungeon. The guy replied that of course he would cope and return alive. The captain asked to tell us about what abilities Ugin has. Sun Gu replied, "This is classified information. This teenager is stubborn. He will not give out any important information." The captain thought that in any case, if Wu Jin returned, it would mean that Korea would have an 11th awakened A rank. Ugin in the desert continued to kill monsters and reached level 27, then 28 and 29. Wu Jin said that he had only one level left until he was called up again. The hero thought about how big this desert is. No matter how long he goes, it doesn't end. Then suddenly the hero saw in the distance the abandoned city of Lacrisia. Ugin, along with his skeletons, began to explore the city, and he did not feel anyone's presence. Looks like a regular throw. But then suddenly, someone attacked him and hit his skeleton. Ugin saw that it was Naga, a snake-like mythical creature. Nasha asked for the reason why Ujin invaded their temple. The hero said that he was not surprised that this place looked familiar, because it was the temple of Arya. Nasha asked if the hero really knows Arya. Ugin replied that, of course, how can one not know the seer goddess? Ugin asked Naga what Arya's follower was doing on Earth, and asked if the demon Tranit had defeated her too. The Naga was furious that the hero dared to insult their goddess. He said they only cooperate with Tranit to punish cults. This way they will be able to punish all the apostates of the blue-eyed priestess who left Alphen and fled to Earth. Ugin thought about the fact that the blue-eyed priestess was on Earth. Wu Jin said it was none of his business whether they caught her, killed her, or let her live, but he couldn't let them get to Earth. Just as the Nagas protect the temple of their goddess, Ugin wants to protect his home. Naga said that he respects Ugin's decision, so before they go to Earth, they will crush the hero. The hero realized that this was too much. Although communication is his strong point, he doesn't feel anyone. Their hiding skill is higher than Ugin's detection skill. It won't be easy for the hero with his skeleton soldiers. The hero used the distribution of skill points and increased the number of skeleton soldiers to 20. Since Summon Skeleton Soldiers has reached level 20, their form will also change. Wujin said that the Nagas would regret every blow they missed. Both the Nagas and the skeletons went into battle against each other. Ugin deftly dealt with his enemies. But then suddenly someone started shooting at the hero and the skeletons. It was the Nagas on the roof of the building. Ugin tried to attack them, but the Nagas surrounded him and he used a wall of bones. The hero and the Nagas have a significant difference in levels, but more importantly, they are trained in many melee attacks. In addition, their ability to use the territory also becomes a problem. Even Bibi and the skeleton magicians will not help here. Ugin can only use skeleton soldiers, but they are monstrously fast and can kill their enemy. So Ugin will not win. If so, then this is the only thing left. Meanwhile, the news said that 10 hours had passed since the accidental fall of a person, but the barrier was still in place. The victim of the incident was Kang Woo-jin, an awakened C rank. They also said that his survival so far amounts to a miracle. Guildmaster Hammer wondered if they really had to come all this way to trade their faces. Even if they planned to give this dungeon to the Hwarang Guild, they can't help but show off. The master said that when they returned, they would need to be reprimanded. Sun-gu was very worried. The captain brought food and invited Sun-gu to eat while they waited. He said that the average raid time for a level 5 dungeon is 12 hours, and they don't know exactly how long it will take this time. Sun-gu was in despair because Wujin was suffering there and he was sitting here. He decided to eat anyway. The Nagas killed all the skeletons. The chief asked Ujin if this was all he planned to invade the shrine with. Wujin said that level 5 dungeons are a lot more problematic than he thought. Naga said that the hero was not in a position to bluff now, but the hero replied that he was not bluffing. Wujin leveled up. He now has the use of a special level 30 demonic sealing stone. Naga is perplexed, and then suddenly a huge monster appears, Ugin's servant. As a result of the designated zone, Golem was summoned in the Sand Golem video. Ugin ordered the Golem to kill the Nagas. The head of the Nagas also told everyone to line up. The Golem went on the attack and defeated the Nagas without any obstacles. Now only the chapter remains. He was clearly in shock. Wujin asked if he had anything else to oppose him besides his soldiers. Naga called the hero a shameless scum and tried to attack. And then Ujin uses the shape-shifting skill Hammer to attack Naga. The hero uses a whirlwind, after which he defeats Nag. Wujin said that Naga is a persistent bastard and is trying to prove that he is the boss of the level and is different from the rest. Naga never thought that there was someone so strong on Earth. But Naga is not ready to die until he completes his mission and turns into a new, huge monster. Ugin points his hammer at him and says that for someone who is dying, Naga talks too much. People continued to wait at the entrance to the dungeon. Sun-gu continued to eat despite what happened. Before Sun-gu can finish speaking, Wujin appears and asks if he's been booked. All the people start running, taking pictures and filming Wujin. Has he really come out? Sun-gu asked if the hero was hurt. Wujin replied that there was not a single scratch on him and it was as easy as shelling pears. Li Yun-hee was also still there. Wujin asked how she could push him into the dungeon. It's dangerous. If something had gone wrong, he could have died. The girl was clearly angry. The reporters wanted to quickly publish an article that Korea's 11th A-rank awakened had appeared. Guild leader Hammer began to get ready when suddenly the breaking news turned on. They reported that on Friday at 11 a.m., at exit 6 of Seoul University Station, Kang Woo-jin, who accidentally fell into the dungeon, unexpectedly returned back. The leader couldn't believe it. Reporters asked Woo-jin to answer the question of how he managed to survive and come back. However, Junmin-chan closed the camera and said that the hero barely returned alive from the 5th level dungeon, and that there would be no interviews. The leader was shocked that the hero cleared the dungeon alone, and it looks like he really has A rank. So Junmin-chan's instincts were correct. If he recruits Woo-jin to join them, then Hammer will become the first guild in Korea with 3 A rank awakened. The leader was delighted, and hypocritically said that he knew that the captain would cope. Meanwhile, Lee Sang-ho was having dinner with the minister. The minister asked how what he asked for was going on. Sang-ho replied that the progress is good, and as far as he knows, there are a lot of people involved. The minister said that Lee Sang-ho should not make a single mistake. The man replied that the minister need not worry as they had prepared impeccably. The minister said that he knew that Master Lee Sang-ho could be trusted and promised to reward him generously. Suddenly, Lee Sang-ho received a message about the latest news, and he also found out that Wu Jin is an A rank. Lee Sang-ho knew that Wu Jin was exceptional, but he didn't think that he was that special. Lee Sang-ho remembered their conversation in the cafe when he asked Wu Jin to help them. Wu Jin is definitely hiding something, and Lee Sang-ho is obliged to hire him in Hwarang no matter what. The man also asked the minister for a small favor, to which he replied that he would do anything. Lee Sang-ho said that he actually wanted to involve someone in their plan. In Jae-min's apartment, Wu Jin and Sun-gu watched TV loudly while the guy tried to study. Jae-min turned and said that he was preparing for exams and asked to turn down the volume a little. The guys agreed and apologized to Jae-min. Jae-min was unhappy. He even has a cat at home now. He asked the guys if they were worried. It's been 3 days, and the outside is full of reporters. Wu Jin said that they would gradually get tired and leave one by one and asked Jae-min to let them stay with him for a couple more days. Since they started talking about it, Wu Jin asked Jae-min to buy them tangerines. Jae-min was of course not happy. But then Wu Jin showed the guy a couple of large bills and said that Jae-min could keep the change. The guy immediately agreed. Wu Jin's mom called. The hero asked her if the reporters were already looking for her. She replied that they still continue to come. Suddenly, my mother asked me to pick up something. Sun-gu asked the hero what happened. Wu Jin asked if Korea was still divided, to which Sun-gu responded positively. Wu Jin is furious. How come dungeons are already appearing and they are still separated? Sun-gu asked Wu Jin what was wrong. The guy replied that he had received a summons to the army. Wu Jin said that he would not go like that and suggested simply killing Kim Jong-un. Sun-gu is shocked and asks the hero if he is going to avoid war by killing Kim Jong-un. But Wu Jin was furious and said that we must go unify Korea. Song Yagu tried to stop him. Sun-gu asked Wu Jin if he really thought he could just kill him and Korea would be united. Wu Jin asked if there were other options, since this was the best he could come up with. Sun-gu said that they could find another way if they thought longer. Suddenly the door opens and Jae-min walks in. He asks in bewilderment what is happening here. Jae-min listened to the hero's problem and asked why he was so worried about it. Because the awakened ones are not sent like ordinary soldiers. They are assigned to special forces, but if Wu Jin does not want to join the army, he can serve the country in another way. The hero asked which one. Jae-min replied that then he should join the guild and help fight monsters when asked. Wu Jin noted how much the guy knows. Jae-min replied that after all he dreams of working in a big guild. Wu Jin got a little mad and asked Sun-gu how come he didn't know anything. Suddenly, a joyful Ha-min runs up to Captain Jun Min-chan and says that they did it. The captain asked what was the matter, and Ha-min replied that Wu Jin wanted to meet and talk to them about the guild. Perhaps he wants to join them. Min-chan was dumbfounded. He began to remember all the attempts to please Wu Jin. He knew that with his sincerity he would achieve it. Ha-min said that the head had accomplished another feat. Min-chan told Ha-min not to make any noise. The captain decided to talk to the president and return. He told Ha-min to start preparing for the meeting. Min-chan was glad that he was still worth something. The captain came to see the president. He was very happy to see him and asked how the negotiations with Kang Woo-jin were going. Min-chan replied that the hero had just contacted them. The president was simply happy and said that Chief Jun had really done a very good job. That's why the captain came here to talk about the position of vice president. The president said that since Chief Jun is asking, they cannot refuse. The president said that thanks to Jun Min-chan, the Hammer Guild will rise to number 1 in Korea. The captain and the president agreed, and Min-chan was about to leave. The captain, Ha-min and Wu Jin gathered in the cafe. And then Ujin said something that shocked the captain. Ugin offered to create a guild with him. The captain thought that they had gathered because Ugin wanted to join the Hammer Guild. The hero replied that he did not need it, and invited the men to join him. Ha-min and the captain came thinking that Wu Jin would sign a contract with Hammer. This proposal was very unexpected for Jun Min-chan. He has no words. Suddenly Ha-min asked Wu Jin what benefit they would get from this, and then Ujin said it was $1 million. Wu Jin proudly said that he would give them $1 million on top of their salary. The captain was shocked, but said that it was not just about money because he was the manager of the Hammer Guild, and it was difficult for him, as someone who had not awakened, to get this position in one of the best guilds. Jun Min-chan added that he cannot transfer to another guild because of money. Wu Jin said that he could guarantee that they would become even greater than Hammer, and asked the men to become founding members of his guild. As Ha Min and the captain were driving from the meeting, Ha Min said that he was going to accept Wu Jin's proposal. The captain was shocked. Ha Min said that this actually sounds cool since Wu Jin is definitely an A rank awakened, because no one has raided a level 5 dungeon solo before him. He is confident that they will grow faster than the Hammer. Ha Min added that even if he stayed in Hammer, how high could he climb the career ladder? The captain thought and realized that the guy was right. Based on the way Ugin raids dungeons, he has a brighter future than Hammer. On the other hand, it will be difficult to advance further in Hammer. No matter how good Min Chang's achievements are, it will be difficult to surpass the founding members and become vice president or president. The captain should be grateful that he is not ridiculed or mocked. Then Jun Min-chan said that he also agrees. He added that in order to rise higher, they all have to take risks. Ha Min said it was a good decision. Ha Min took out the registration letter and offered to leave. Min-chan asked if Ha Min always carries it with her. It turns out that the captain also carries a registration letter with him. It was quite wrinkled. Apparently, he had been carrying it with him for a long time. Then the men decided to abruptly quit the Hammer Guild and go for a drink. When the men entered the office, they saw that it was dark and no one was there. Suddenly the lights turned on, firecrackers were launched, and everyone began to congratulate the head, Jun Min-chan, on his position as vice president. The president said that when he first met Min-chang, he knew that he would not last long as a manager. Starting tomorrow, Min-chan will become the vice president of the support team. The workers told the captain to blow out the candles and continued to congratulate him. Min-chan was, to put it mildly, in a stupor. The president said that this genius had just completed an incredible negotiation and said to applaud. Workers said they admired him. It turned out very awkward. Min-chang tried to object, but the president said that they would discuss it later when they got to the dinner location. The guild has made reservations at a nice restaurant. The evening went on, and Min-chan could not find a place for himself. Ha Min asked what they would do, because it would be somehow awkward to talk about registration in such a situation. The captain puzzled over this question. Suddenly Ha Min gives him a registration letter, and the captain asks why this is. Ha Min replied that one of them had to leave, and he didn't think they could say anything about registering in such a situation. Ha Min said that everything is very awkward, and he will leave first, and everything else is in the hands of the head. Suddenly, the president approached Min-chang and asked him to come to them to tell about his exploits. Still, Min-chan decided to say. The president noticed that the man was very worried, and then Min-chan said that he screwed up. The president is at a loss. The captain said that he screwed up Kang Woo-jin's contract and he's really sorry. The president was absolutely furious and asked if Min-chang was serious now. The captain apologized again. The president asked if Min-chang really thought that his apology would somehow improve the situation and if he wanted to be fired. In fact, the captain would be grateful. The president said that he spent a lot of resources running after Wu Jin and an apology will not cover them. That's right. Min-chan vacated the dungeon schedule and let Wu Jin use it for free, paid people to adjust his rank and went into a lot of debt to hire him. The captain said that he takes full responsibility upon himself. The president asked how. Min-chang said he would resign. The captain asked if he really thought that taking a step back would solve everything. The president thought that the captain was running away after doing something bad. Min-chan didn't know how else to explain it to him. Min-chan said that that was all for him. He was leaving and wished him a good evening. The president was very angry with the captain, and they tried to calm him down. Meanwhile, Min-chan finally said goodbye to the Hammer Guild and was ready to welcome a new start. When Min-chan came out, he saw Ha Min waiting for him. The guy said that he couldn't leave without the head and said to get into the car. That's why Min-chan appreciates this guy, even though he's strange. Arriving at the restaurant, Ugin greeted the heroes and said that the guild was called Adral. Ha Min and the captain were a little surprised by the name, but shook Wu Jin's hand. They said that they will do their best to serve Wu Jin and hope that they will achieve great success. Min-chan said that they can be addressed on a first-name basis, and they will try to ensure that the name of the guild is on everyone's lips. Wu Jin asked if he could call the captain Min-chan from now on. However, the hero does not think that they should communicate so informally. The captain said he could be called Chief Jun. Wu Jin leaves the guild registration and preparation to him. Now Wu Jin offered to drink. Min Chang was a little embarrassed that the meeting was over. Wu Jin said that there is nothing more to discuss, and Min Chan will be in charge of everything, and the hero will do what is required. In fact, the hero thought that he just needed to come up with a name for the guild. Min Chan thought to himself how normal it was for a boss to be so careless. He doesn't like it. He hopes he won't regret his decision to come here. The captain suggested postponing the acquaintance, since first they had to decide something. Min Chan was referring to the level 6 dungeon raid at Seoul Station. To take reservations from other teams, they need to negotiate details about conducting raids. This has nothing to do with creating a guild. Wu Jin said that there is no need to allow other people to use the dungeon, since he can raid it himself. Min Chang asked if it would be better to let others use it when Wu Jin is resting, rather than leaving it standing idle. Wu Jin thought about it. Wu Jin asked if the captain had anything else to add. Min Chan said that they require at least 5 members to register a guild. Wu Jin and Sun Gu began to think about who they could invite. They thought about Jae Min, but he is still studying, and an underage teenager would not be suitable. And then Wu Jin began to look through his contacts on his phone. Mom doesn't come? What should I do? But then Wu Jin remembered one little man. And then the same phone salesman who once deceived Wu Jin comes into the room. Wu Jin asked if he brought the ID card and stamp. The man replied yes. He looked very scared, which is not strange because Wu Jin beat him up last time. Wu Jin stood up and greeted him, saying that he was now their 5th guild member. The man was clearly perplexed. 2 days later, the Adral Guild office was undergoing renovations. Now the office looks human. That man salesman, Seung Hoon, thought about the fact that just yesterday he thought he was being played. The guy who beat him half to death and stole his phone is the well-known Kang Wu Jin. They spend the whole day talking about their boss, since he is the 11th A rank awakened in the country, although this is not official yet. He is also one of the strongest in history. Seung Hoon wondered if Wu Jin had lured these two away from the Hammer Guild. Seung Hoon realized that it was very profitable to work for Wu Jin. His business at the store wasn't going so well anyway, so it would be better to work for him. Suddenly, Ha Min asked Seung Hoon how he knew the boss. Ha Min thought that they must be close for Seung Hoon to come running so quickly when Wu Jin called him. In fact, Seung Hoon came running here because he thought he would be beaten if he was late. However, the man did not understand why Ugin invited him to become part of the guild. Maybe he apologized for the beating? Suddenly, Wu Jin himself came into the office. He said the office looked great. Min Chan asked Wu Jin if he had finished writing out the dungeon raid strategy. Wu Jin replied that, yes, something like that, but Sun Gu did it. Sun Gu looked exhausted and tired. Ha Min said that even if the raid was successful, there was a lot of stuff that needed to be recorded, since this was a level 5 dungeon after all. Sun Gu looked like his soul had been sucked out of him. He definitely needs to be given more time for himself. In the meeting room, all guild members gathered to decide the most important thing. Wu Jin asked Min Chan what position he wanted. The hero said that even though there are only a few people in the organization, you need to give them their roles in order to distribute the work productively. Wu Jin asked everyone to tell them what positions they wanted. Everyone was simply shocked that they would choose their own positions. Wu Jin didn't understand why everyone was silent and asked the head of June about what positions usually exist in the guild. Min Chang said that they are usually divided into 2 categories. The first is awakened, and the second is ordinary employees. An awakened person may be an executive, a director, a vice president, but usually this is not important. For the awakened, the most important thing is the details of the contract, such as a share of the dungeon raid and other payments. Wu Jin asked Sun Gu what he wanted to be. The guy replied that he was Wu Jin's manager, and before he could finish speaking, Wu Jin said that he would be the director. Sun Gu was shocked that he was 21 years old and already a director. However, he will be the director of resource collection. Wu Jin asked about departments. Min Chang replied that there would be accounting, administration, sales, support, and management departments. Wu Jin started thinking and decided that Min Chan would be the general manager. Wu Jin also asked Ha Min, to which he asked to be given the position of head of the support department. And then Wu Jin asks why Seung Hoon is still here. Everyone was surprised. Everyone thought he was one of the founding members. Wu Jin replied that he was just bored with his name. Seung-hoon was completely at a loss and didn't know what to do. Woo-jin said that since he is here, they will give him a suitable job. Min Chang asked about how they plan to hire employees. Woo-jin asked why they needed them. Min Chang was shocked. The captain said that as the guild grows, there are usually more awakened ones and they will need new employees. Here, Woo-jin hands the head some piece of paper and says that this is his raid to free himself from the army. This shocked Min Chang that Woo-jin created a guild just to free himself from the army when he could have simply joined Hammer. If Woo-jin did this, Jun Min Chang would become the head of the department and live a luxurious life. Min Chang said that people will probably still be needed. Woo-jin said okay, and instructed the head to do what was required. Woo-jin said that the general manager will be in charge of the support department. Min Chang is even more shocked. She wondered if Woo-jin was doing this because he trusted him or just because he was lazy. Meanwhile, Ji-won was lying in bed and reading the news about Woo-jin. It's incredible that Woo-jin is now a celebrity. She was surprised that she was drinking with such a person. Suddenly, some women came into Ji-won's room and said that she scared them. They said that Ji-won should wear a cap, even if she is sitting in the room, because she is not alone here. Ji-won apologized and they left for a while. One of the women said that she needs to save up and move out of the dorm because Ji-won scares her to death every time. Ji-won was very upset by these words and thought that she had nothing to hope for. Jae-min got off the bus near Ji-won's dorm. He wanted to have dinner with her and have a good time since he was done with his exams, and Ji-won had moved back to his place. She was a little late when suddenly the same two women came out of the building. They began to discuss how Ji-won was the same fox with men before getting burned. They said they thought she was a gray mouse. Jae-min was not very pleased to hear this. Meanwhile, Woo-jin and Sun-gu raid or dungeon. They collected various items, but there were only ordinary things there, and useful artifacts no longer dropped out. Sun-gu said that this is because the drop rate has decreased due to the increase in the number of raids. Woo-jin said that they already took everything from this dungeon. The heroes came out, and a huge number of people were waiting for them. People were shocked that they had already finished, even though 4 hours had passed. Seung-hoon ran over and told Woo-jin that it was a good job. The hero asked what he was doing here. The man replied that Min Chang asked to take the heroes back to the office when they were finished. Woo-jin asked where the head Jun himself was. Seung-hoon replied that the guild was most likely approved, and he headed to the Public Affairs Bureau. Suddenly, one of the reporters pushed Seung-hoon away and started asking questions. He asked about Ugin's secret, which allows him to raid dungeons with unusual speed. Reporters attacked the hero. It is said that Woo-jin is not accepting reservations at Seoul Station Gate 6, and reporters asked when he plans to open it to other people. And then Seung-hoon started yelling at the reporters and demanded to move away from Woo-jin. He said that the hero was tired after the raid, and if they wanted to ask something, then they should send an official request to the guild. Seung-hoon added that if the reporters continue to pester Woo-jin, then they will already have to deal with the matter in court. Seung-hoon said that he remembered their faces and would remember them when they received an official interview request. Woo-jin was surprised. Seung-hoon said that he would drive the car now. Woo-jin wondered if Seung-hoon became like this when he pushed him, or if he was always so aggressive. Sun-gu asked Woo-jin how he knew Seung-hoon. The hero replied that he sold him the phone. Seung-hoon wondered why Woo-jin hired him, but he just wanted his name. Because the man misunderstood, he even closed his shop, and now that things have turned out this way, he must remain in this guild no matter what. 3 days later, Woo-jin sat in his office and read the news about him being promoted to A rank and about his guild. He also read the news about a comparison between him and Kim Kang-chul. Woo-jin said that Kim Kang-chul looks pretty strong. Sun-gu asked Woo-jin what he eats. The hero said that these are enhancement stones. They raise stats, and suggested it to Sun-gu. Sun-gu was shocked as each stone was worth at least 1 million won. Woo-jin gave Sun-gu these stones and said that they would increase his strength, agility, and endurance. Woo-jin said that Sun-gu needs to become stronger to carry more things and faster to collect them, and his stamina will be useful to him to work even harder. Suddenly, Jae-min came into the office and asked if Woo-jin was here. The hero thought that the guy came to visit him, and Jae-min wanted to talk about something and asked for a couple of minutes. After Jae-min left, Sun-gu asked why he came. Woo-jin replied that it was a long story, something like the love of a brother for his sister. Wu Jin said he would go out for a while and started getting ready. Sun Gu asked where the hero was going. He replied that he was going to meet Ji-won and told him not to wait for him. Sun Gu asked if they were on a date and Shung Hoon heard it. He realized that this was his chance. Shung Hoon flies into Wu Jin's office and says that making him an employee was a great decision. Wu Jin was perplexed and asked why the man was behaving this way. Shung Hoon said to rely on him as he is a professional in such matters. The heroes went to the shopping center, and the hero began to try on different outfits. Sun Gu said that who would have thought that there was a VIP shopping room in the mall. Shung Hoon offered Wu Jin a suit, saying it would fit him perfectly. Wu Jin didn't understand what all the fuss was about. An hour ago, Seung Hoon, having heard about the date, said that there are many ways to win a girl, but the most important thing is sincerity and the first impression. He also said that suitable clothes are the first step to a girl's heart, so they went to the mall. Wu Jin decided that okay, sometimes it wouldn't hurt to buy something stylish. And then Wu Jin comes out in a black suit and blue shirt. Everyone was speechless at his appearance. His clothes suited him very well. Shung Hoon handed Wu Jin the watch to complete the look. Seung Hoon also handed the hero some piece of paper. He looked for things to do in the city and told Wu Jin to just follow the plan. Wu Jin said to himself that this idiot understood everything wrong, but he wanted to relax, so he might as well listen to him. Wu Jin thanked everyone and said they could leave early. Wu Jin left and Sun Gu asked Seung Hoon if he was going home now, but the man replied that he had something to do. Every time Seung Hoon tries to bring people together, they become couples, and so he's going to help the head. Sun Gu asked if Wu Jin was going to date Ji-won because he was unsure about it. Seung Hoon replied that of course. Seung Hoon said that there was little time and there was a lot to prepare, so he said goodbye and said that he would see him on Monday. Seung Hoon disappeared like lightning. Sun Gu doesn't actually think Wu Jin is going to confess. He's talking about some kind of medicine or something like that. Meanwhile, Ji-won got out of the shower and started reading her correspondence with Wu Jin. He wrote that he would come for her, it seems. The girl was very embarrassed that Wu Jin most likely wanted to ask her out on a date. Ji-won thought that this couldn't happen. Definitely not with someone like her. Maybe Wu Jin has some reason. And then suddenly Wu Jin called the girl. He said that he was standing in front of her dorm and that she should come out when she was ready. She went to the window and saw him. He waved to her. They went out and Ji-won asked why Wu Jin wanted to meet, and so suddenly asked to go with him to the center. Wu Jin said it was nothing. He just wanted to give her something and go on a date. The girl was confused and did not know what to do. Does Wu Jin really like her? The hero said that it was still too early for dinner and suggested going to the cinema. Suddenly on the way, some guy bumped into Ji-won and her cap fell off a little. She quickly began to correct it. Wu Jin, remembering the words of the woman from the restaurant, asked Ji-won if she really cared so much what others thought. This is because people feel uncomfortable when they see her face. Suddenly, Wu Jin takes the girl by the hand and leads her somewhere. They approached a shop with masks. Wu Jin gave one of the masks to Ji-won and took one for himself. On the way to the cinema, all the people looked at the characters and said that they looked funny. People thought that maybe they were some kind of celebrities, or maybe this was a competition. Someone thought it was for Halloween, but it's still early. Wu Jin continued to take Ji-won to the movies. They were wearing masks and the girl asked if they would really wear it. Wu Jin asked if she wanted to switch with him, to which Ji-won replied that that was not the problem. Then the hero said that it was time to go, otherwise they would be late for the film. The heroes watched the film, but for some reason the hall was empty. Ji-won thought it was strange since it was said that all the tickets were already sold out. Half an hour ago, when the heroes wanted to buy tickets, they were all sold out, and they thought about not even going to it. But suddenly, a man in a cap and mask approached Chris, saying that he had urgent business to do, and offered to take his tickets. The man gave the tickets and ran away. Wu Jin thought that he reminded him of someone. Seung Hoon came to the ticket office and said that he wanted a refund for all the tickets except those two. However, the girl worker said that the man bought tickets for the group. Seung Hoon demanded his money back for the tickets since he bought them 10 minutes ago. The heroes left the cinema. Ji-won said that she liked it and hasn't been to a movie for 5 years. Wu Jin replied that he hasn't been to a movie in 20 years. Suddenly, they were called out by some clown with a wheel of fortune. He told them to come spin the roulette wheel. It was free. The clown said that such an opportunity would not arise again, because the chance of winning was 90%. Woojin asked Ji-won if she wanted to try. She replied that she was bad at such things. Ji-won spun her wheels and it came down to losing. The clown suggested that Woojin should try it, because it would be nice to give a gift to his girlfriend. Woojin spun the wheel and lost again, but the clown, Seong-hoon in a suit, spun the wheel so that there was a win. The heroes won the prize. Ji-won said that this is her first time winning something. The clown gave the girl a gift in a bag. Woojin understood everything. Seong-hoon was watching them. Woojin took Ji-won and they left from there. The heroes played slot machines with toys, had dinner, and walked. Ji-won lost track of the time since she stopped worrying about people's gazes. She's just wearing a mask, but if Woojin hadn't done it with her, she probably wouldn't have decided on her own. Ji-won thought that if this was a dream, she didn't want to wake up. Ji-won said that today is an amazing day. She really enjoyed it, and people probably think they are weird. Woojin asked what the big deal was. Ji-won said that he is right, but she still doesn't have the courage to go where there are a lot of people. For her, it's like a dream, but sooner or later the dream ends. She thought that if she continued to sleep, she might fall in love with Woojin. Ji-won suggested taking off the masks and returning to reality. Woojin said that he would give the girl something to help her regain that courage. Suddenly, the heroes saw an incredibly beautiful fireworks display in the sky. People around began to congratulate the heroes, but when people saw Ji-won's face, they said that it scared them and that the guy must really love her. Seong-hoon behind the tree got angry and said that he just asked them to clap and liven up the atmosphere. But they are doing this. Woojin noticed Seong-hoon. He also saw how uncomfortable Ji-won was and activated the bone wall. Ji-won asked where they were. Woojin told the girl to close her eyes as he had a gift. On the very day when Jae-min came to Woojin, he told him that they had lost their parents during the dungeon breakout. Ji-won stopped doing what she wanted for his sake. She was injured by a monster during a dungeon breakout. Therefore, she received a scar that cannot be removed. For this reason, Jae-min asked to help her if Woojin could. Woojin took out a jar and said that now Ji-won will wake up from the dream she mentioned, from the terrible nightmare that began with the dungeon break. Woojin applied healing ointment to her scar. It is a high-level restorative medicine that helps to recover from wounds received due to physical or magical attacks. Woojin wrote to the girl not to wash her face or wash her hair for a day, otherwise she will wash off the ointment. He also told her to go to bed. Ji-won thanked Yin for everything and also advised him to rest. She thought it would be great if the ointment could completely heal her wounds in one go. She remembered that gift and decided to see what they won. And then Ji-won saw the ring. There's no way the street vendor gave her a ring. If you think about it, the characters watched the film in an empty theater, ate in an expensive restaurant, watched fireworks, and gave her roses. No way. Ji-won thought that Woojin was going to confess his feelings to her. Woojin forced Seong-hoon to do push-ups and repeat that you need to know when to stop. Woojin told the man to do only what he asks and no more. He asked why Seong-hoon did all this. The man replied that he simply wanted to show his loyalty to the head, since he did not trust him enough. Seong-hoon said he was sorry. Woojin asked where Seong-hoon would get all the money for this. It turns out he took the guild card. Suddenly Min-chan came into the office. He was surprised by what he saw and asked what they were doing. Min-chang said that he had reached an agreement with the Ministry of Defense. Woojin asked if he still needed to serve in the army. Min-chang replied that it is not necessary if he completes 10 mobilization tasks from the army, but this is nonsense. Head Jun didn't know how to tell Woojin about this. Woojin demanded that Min-chan speak. Chief Jun said that Woojin was asked to immediately mobilize to Daegu, exit 3 of Jukjeong Station. There was a dungeon breakout. Woojin arrived there, but there was no one there. It was like a ghost town. Previously, Min-chan said that a dungeon breakthrough happens if the rebooted dungeon is not cleared in 30 days, because the barrier breaks and the monsters come out. It seems that no one managed to clear Jukjeong Station, and the awakened were called in as reinforcements. Woojin asked, what will happen if they fail? Min-chang said that it was unlikely that the army would mobilize, but if it did, Daegu would be completely destroyed. Woojin wondered why there were so many open spaces and parks in this area. Probably due to the dungeon explosion. A certain woman in military uniform said that the residents were evacuated 2 days ago and the rupture will occur tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The girl introduced herself. She is in charge here. the first lieutenant of Chohei Seo's Special Protection Squad. Wu Jin also introduced himself. Johei Seo said that she had heard a lot about the hero, and it was an honor for her to meet him. Wu Jin asked, "Why don't they clear the dungeon again while they have time?" Heiso said that the return portal has already been used 3 times and they will not be able to return. Wu Jin was surprised as he heard this for the first time. She explained that if you use return items, you can return even during the raid, but in one dungeon this can only be done 3 times. She asked how Wu Jin could not have known this. He didn't even suspect that this was possible. The first team from the Hwarang Guild tried to raid the dungeon, but they failed. Then Hwarang and Hammer teamed up, but the result was the same. International forces have already joined for the 3rd time. However, it didn't work out for them. Moreover, you can no longer return from the dungeon. Heiso said that it was possible, of course, to try to cope with the remaining time, but she would have to risk her life, and no one was eager to do that. Wu Jin asked if it would be more dangerous if the dungeon did explode. The girl said that the location of the dungeon greatly affects its difficulty. Luckily, the monsters in the dungeon aren't too strong, but it's the terrain that makes things difficult. Therefore, they will cope. They will not be able to use modern weapons in the dungeon since the portal does not allow them, and outside it they have an advantage. The girl said that all they need is to use modern weapons. Wu Jin asked why they called him then. Heiso replied that awakened ones are also important. While they carry out the operation, the awakened will provide support. And if monsters break through their first line of defense, the awakened ones will help. The girl added that they don't know anything about the boss, so Wu Jin needs to prepare. Heiso suggested going to the waiting room. The others who had awakened were already there. When Wu Jin and Haiseo walked into the room, everyone started talking about him. And then suddenly Wu Jin sees Li Yunhee. They met again. Fate itself brings you down. In fact, her brother Li Sang-ho gave her some task that she needs to complete. Wu Jin apologized for jumping the queue at the Seoul station, but said that a rank 5 dungeon was not that difficult. Wu Jin decided to inject Li Yunhee and said that she couldn't have done it alone anyway. Li Yunhee replied that it seems like she beat him yesterday and it looks like Wu Jin has become much stronger. All the people heard this and began to discuss that maybe the rumors were lying about Wu Jin's strength. The hero got angry. He told Li Yunhee if she wanted to check it out. Heiso tried to calm them down, saying that they were comrades who would all fight together in the dungeon rupture tomorrow. Li Yunhee said that it seems that Wu Jin has become stronger, but he remains a child and should not become too arrogant, because of one of his mistakes, people can die on the battlefield. Wu Jin was outraged by this and said that who was she to tell him? Li Yunzi turned around and left. Heiso said that she is the leader of the awakened support team. Wu Jin asked Haiseo to get him information about the type of dungeon. She replied that there would be a breakup soon, and why did he need this information? Wu Jin asked if this was a military secret. Haiseo said that the information about what is inside the dungeon is public, and she can print it out if needed. Li Yunhee didn't even think that he could go to this 6th-rank dungeon. Ugin came to him and said that the energy released was incredible, and it is not surprising that this dungeon is the most powerful. Suddenly, Li Yunhee called out to him and asked what he was doing here. Wu Jin replied that of course he was going to clean it up. The girl said that Wu Jin really isn't catching up. In fact, this is not so. Wu Jin is not a fool. He does not want to share experience points and achievements with the army and the awakened. Li Yunhee said that the best awakened team failed in this dungeon 3 times, and it looks like Wu Jin wanted to die. Yunhee started talking about the return portal, and Wu Jin told her to talk less. He said she was scared. Wu Jin said that it seems that Yunhee is very scared that she will not be able to use the return portal, and if so, then she should just quietly wait here. Li Yunhee got really angry at him and called Wu Jin an asshole. Meanwhile, Li Sang-ho received a call from the minister and asked what this all meant. San-ho didn't understand what was wrong. The minister replied that he was talking about his sister, Li Yunhee. The minister asked if Li Yasna-ho was going to break her promise and clear out the dungeon. Sang-ho said that he will contact him when he finds out everything. He was angry and thought about why Yunhee went to the dungeon and what she was even thinking about. In the dungeon, Li Yunhee began to look around and noticed that there were a lot of battles here, as there were signs of battle everywhere. She saw the monsters summoned by Ugin. There were 20 of them. It seemed to her that Ujin was just going crazy since he wanted to clear the dungeon himself. But now everything fell into place. Lee Yun-hee saw the difficulty of the area and said that a hero with his skill level would not be able to obtain the Hearthstone, let alone clear the dungeon. Ugin began the attack along with his skeletons. Finally, his experience points began to increase. He began to attack the huge stone monster. He summoned the hammer and struck it again. He reached level 40 and had the special benefits of that level unlocked. Suddenly, Bibi appeared with a golem and said that the master did a great job. Woojin asked where she learned to talk like that. She said her Rocky did his best too. Woojin said that there is no need to fool around and we need to move on. Suddenly they saw something unusual, a cliff. He had already heard about this. Legends speak of the appearance of a sacred place in Alphen, the Tarta Plateau. Otherwise, it is known as the Temple of the Giants. Woojin thought that because of this cliff, other people failed the raid. Now is the perfect time to unlock the special level 40 perks: Necromancer class skills, Wraith armor, and spear. Woojin studied the soul extract when he treated Sungu. Finally, he will be able to use the highest rank skill that comes from the soul extract. He upgraded his ghost armor skill. The hero called Wandering Spirits to him. The number of subordinates is 100/100ths. Next, he unlocked the warrior class skill, Great Sword, and learned the Great Sword technique and the Split Sword skill. Woojin told Shinshin to show himself. The seal of the sealed demon stone has been broken. Suddenly, a ghostly horse appeared. This is a hot-blooded war horse that attacks even at the cost of its life. Bibi was glad to see the horse, but the touching reunion must be postponed until later. They need to hurry. They don't have time left. Ujin flew away on his horse. Meanwhile, Lee Yun-hee was also killing the monster with her shadow breakthrough skill. She began to explore the area further and saw Woojin on a flying pet. She thought that the hero had many tricks. She saw the tower. The reason why they were unable to clear the dungeon before this is very simple. They could not cross the cliff. Only those with flight abilities could cross it. But behind the cliff, the Stone of Return is guarded by 3 monsters. Seeing this, they gave up. Letting the dungeon fall apart made more sense than clearing it out. Even though this area will be destroyed, they can still rebuild it. Since she is not interested in political affairs, the decision depends on the guild president, and it has nothing to do with her. However, the Hwarang Guild cannot clear the dungeon, but someone else can, especially alone. For the sake of the Hwarang Guild's reputation, Lee Yun-hee must stop Kang Woo-jin. There was 1 hour left before the dungeon broke and Lee Sang-ho was holding a press conference. They started asking him about whether Woo-jin and Yun-hee had a chance of returning alive from the dungeon. Lee Sang-ho replied that he thought their chances were close to 0. One of the audience said that there was an hour left before the break and asked how the president was feeling, because Lee Yun-hee was his sister. Lee Sang-ho was angry at such questions. He replied that how could he still feel when a member of his family was on the verge of death, and he could not do anything. He could not stand it, and announced that he was ending the conference. Lee Sang-ho asked his subordinate how the dungeon was. He was told that the barrier was not responding yet. Sang-ho said that this is good, and we should go to the office. His subordinate was shocked that he was happy about this. Although he is the president of the company, he is frighteningly cold. Even his own sister is just a pawn in his hands when it comes to the interests of the guild. At the entrance to the dungeon, Ha-min and Min-chan demanded to be let in. Sang-ho and his assistant saw this. Lee Sang-ho asked what kind of crowd this was. The assistant replied that it seemed they were members of Ugin's Ardal Guild. Meanwhile, Ugin and Bibi had already flown to the Temple of the Giants. Bibi said it looked more like a cemetery. Woojin agreed and said that she looked kind of scary. Will the statues turn into golems? Woojin decided to find out and told Rocky to try. Woojin thought that it worked and it was an ordinary stone. But no, it was a giant level 65 golem. There were 5 golems. Woojin wondered if entering the center would activate the trap. Golems are not corpses, they have no soul, so his necromancer skills are useless. If so, then it's time to increase the level of Ugin's warrior class. Lee Yun-hee watched all this. She was surprised that he wasn't a necromancer because he was currently using the warrior class. All the stone statues turned out to be golems. If a person carelessly approaches the altar, he will be instantly surrounded and destroyed. Woojin continued to attack them, and Yun-hee said that his instincts were much better than she thought. Wu Jin caught his breath and said that they would be over soon. There are just a lot of them, but they are not strong. True, from the very beginning he is frightened by the three near the Stone of Return. Ugin finished off all the monsters. He told Bibi to come down as it was not safe. The homecoming stone is shining so brightly, maybe it means there will be an explosion soon. There is no time, we need to hurry. Cyclops are a race that descended from ancient giants. Although they, like ogres, are descendants of the same race, they are not so cruel and wild. The Cyclops inherited the wisdom of the giants who once flourished as a civilization. They are powerful and worthy of being the final boss. Suddenly, one of the Cyclops said that he was surprised and did not expect to see Ugin here. Wu Jin asked if he knew him, to which he received a positive answer. With him is an attacking titan of destruction and a witch of hallucinations, and he himself is a necromancer of bloodshed. Wu Jin said that he was quite famous. The Cyclops said that he could not know who Ugin was since he is the king of death and the immortal king. Suddenly, gigantification occurred and the Cyclops became unrealistic in size. Ugin asked if Tranit sent them here too. The Cyclops replied that Tranit is the new order of the universe and Ugin cannot stop his troops. The Cyclops said that by escaping from Alphen, Ugin had already lost. This infuriated the hero, because he did not run away. The Cyclops added that the hero's anger only proves his defeat. Ugin told Cyclops not to take on too much. The hero told him to stop talking and die. Wu Jin began to attack him. Cyclops told the hero to rest in peace and used the whirlwind skill. Ugin was surprised that he pierced the Cyclops' eye, but he was fine. The Cyclops healed his wounds. Watching all this, Li Yunhee said that it would not be easy for him, because the Cyclops have monstrous strength. Ugin had no time to do anything. He had never heard that Cyclops had such regeneration. He asked Bibi and Rocky to distract them for a moment. Wu Jin climbed onto the statue. She was very big. It was as if they were afraid that people would not understand that this was a temple of giants. A temple with divine relics will bestow benefits on its worshippers. In their case, this is the advantage of regeneration. The Cyclops demanded that Ugin remove the dirty feet from the statue. Wu Jin mockingly said that he slipped through his guard and asked why he was panicking. Ugin used the earthquake skill, which destroyed the statue. The Cyclops became very angry and began to attack Ugin. Ugin began to attack the Cyclops in response. He said that now his cups work as they should. The hero began to taunt the Cyclops, and they were shocked that one of them was killed. Ugin told them to attack if they were confident they could destroy it. By killing them, Ugin received the giant's belt and giant's tears. Bibi asked if he was okay. Ugin began to get lost, because his strength stats were approaching his magic stats, but he decided that it probably wasn't that important. Ugin suggested returning, but the Stone of Return had disappeared somewhere. Wu Jin got nervous, but suddenly Li Yunhee called out to them with a stone in her hands and asked if this was what they were looking for. Wu Jin asked her what she was doing and why she was following him. In reality, Li Sang-ho told Yunhee to force Wu Jin into the dungeon rift at Jukjeong Station. Li Yunhee asked why. Li Sang-ho replied that they don't know his past or his abilities. A dungeon rip is the best place to find out all its secrets. The man told Li Yunhee to observe him and learn about his abilities and skills. Maybe someone is helping him. If so, who? Li Yunhee had to find out everything she could. The girl asked why she should run after him, and not someone of lower rank. Li Sang-ho replied that only she could do it. Although he really wants Ujin to be on their side, he has already founded his own guild. It doesn't matter how exactly, but if he can clear a dungeon alone in the shortest time, he will soon take over the heliotrope market. The man said that since he couldn't get it, he needed to get rid of him before he got even more power. Li Yunhee told Wu Jin that, surprisingly, he cleared the dungeon alone. She thought he was using some tricks, but she had to admit that the hero was indeed strong. Wu Jin replied that he didn't care about her confessions. Ugin demanded that he quickly give him the Stone of Return because the dungeon would soon explode. But then suddenly Yunhee attacked Wu Jin. The hero did not understand what she was doing. The girl said that she has her own personal reasons and she cannot allow the hero to get out of here alive. Meanwhile, Sun Gu, Min Chang, and the others demanded to be let through. They said that they were directly connected with this person, and the military man wanted them to find out everything from the news. Suddenly, Li Sang-ho came up and asked what was the matter. Min-chan explained that he was a member of the Ardal Guild, and they were here because they found out that their boss went to the dungeon. Sang-ho thought that both their boss and employees did not understand the hints at all. Yoon-hee probably fell for Woo-jin's provocations. Sang-ho said that there will be a dungeon rupture soon, so it is better to stay away from this place. He added that they would talk about responsibility and compensation for what happened later. Sun-gu began shouting that there would be no gap, because Woo-jin would break the barrier and appear soon. Suddenly, the military began to fuss and said that the barrier was no longer responding. Everyone started saying that this can't be true, but Woo-jin is here. Lee Sang-ho was shocked. An hour ago, Lee Yoon-hee and Woo-jin were fighting. She used Shadow Breakthrough. Woo-jin couldn't dodge. Woo-jin summoned the golem, but Yoon-hee still continued to actively attack. Although the golem looks large, it knows where the core is and destroyed it without any problems. Woo-jin said that they were done with the campaign. His ghostly armor was activated, and 2 souls belonging to him were summoned. Their strength is equal, but Woo-jin is inferior in speed. Lee Yoon-hee lives up to her A rank. Woo-jin set up a barrier. The girl asked what he was trying to achieve by simply blocking her attacks. She added that if he takes some things out of here, there will be a break. Woo-jin said not to make him laugh. Lee Yoon-hee speaks as if the dungeon rupture doesn't bother her at all. Woo-jin said that people with power are so heartless. It's hard to understand what's on their mind. But Woo-jin was ready and said that no matter what intrigues she was preparing, he would destroy them. Lee Yoon-hee said that the hero is self-confident and invited him to show everything he is capable of. Woo-jin tried to use the ghost spear, but Lee Yoon-hee used shadow speed, thereby causing a large wound on Woo-jin's face. She mockingly said that it looked like the barrier had broken and it was time to finish. Yoon-hee uses the moon separation skill. However, Woo-jin was not going to give up. Yoon-hee said that she had not enjoyed a fight this much for a long time and said goodbye to Woo-jin. Woo-jin replied that the fun had just begun and it was too early to say goodbye. It turned out that she attacked not him, but the skeleton. Woo-jin said that Lee Yoon-hee finally got caught. He was only pretending to be cornered to hide where he would summon the skeleton from. Lee Yoon-hee didn't understand when the hero managed to block her attacks. Woo-jin said it was his turn now. Yoon-hee panicked and said that his slow attacks wouldn't work on him. And then suddenly 2 skeletons thrust their swords right into the girl's back. Woo-jin said that 3 of the Cyclopes attacked, so we won't delay. Lee Yoon-hee tried to answer, but Woo-jin hit her with his sword and said goodbye to her. Woo-jin has gained a lot of experience. He reached level 50 and received Resurrection and Corpse Explosion. He thanked Lee Yoon-hee. The people at the entrance continued to argue when suddenly Woo-jin came out. Everyone immediately started running towards him. Min-chang said that they came as soon as they heard the news. Sun-gu noticed the scar on his face. Woo-jin asked to look for his things and his phone, which he threw somewhere here. Min-chan was shocked that the whole country was on edge, and he was talking about this. And then Ji-won ran up to the hero, hugging him tightly. She called him an idiot and said she was very worried. Woo-jin ignored and asked why she was still wearing a cap if everything should be fine already. He said that the girl looked better. Ji-won replied that who cares about her injury when Woo-jin's face looks like this. He replied that he would simply apply ointment to the wound. Then Ji-won remembered that ring and started saying something about how, if they were suitable for each other, then Woo-jin didn't understand which ring she was talking about. Ji-won began to tell him that he was given it at that entertainment. She thought that he had set it all up. It turned out that everything was wrong and Ji-won just messed everything up. She wanted to fall through the ground. Woo-jin remembered Seung-hoon and looked at him. Seung-hoon was clearly at a loss. Lee Sang-ho approached Woo-jin and said that he was glad that the hero was alive. Woo-jin thought about Lee Yoon-hee's words about how she couldn't leave him alive. It smelled fried. Sang-ho asked about what happened to team leader Lee Yoon-hee. Woo-jin replied that she died. San-ho's whole life passed before his eyes. Woo-jin said that she is a strong woman, but she was unlucky. The man wondered who killed her, Woo-jin or the monster. Sang-ho decided to ask Woo-jin who killed his sister, to which the hero replied that he was immortal. Suddenly Sun-gu burst into the conversation and said that he had found the hero's phone and things. San-ho did not believe the hero's words that Lee Yoon-hee was killed by an unknown monster. The dungeon rupture did not occur, and the main A rank of the guild, Lee Yoon-hee, died. Everything that Lee Sang-ho had built collapsed in an instant. Lee Sang-ho decided for himself that Kang Woo-jin was to blame for all this. Meanwhile, at the hotel, the hero was thinking about the Cyclops. They are definitely strong opponents, but the monsters on Alphen are many times stronger. It won't end there. When the hero came out of the shower, he heard something on TV saying that Dr. James Toppler was ready to give answers to questions about the origin and changes of the dungeons. The doctor was asked where the dungeons came from and how they will change now. He replied that the monsters were life forms not from their planet. According to his hypothesis, dungeons are like roads for monsters. They use them as a method to get to Earth. Woo-jin was very puzzled by this thought and was at a loss. He began to listen further. The doctor said that even after creating the gate, monsters cannot freely pass through it because the dungeon breaks after 30 days. The doctor also has a theory regarding the homecoming stone. Based on their knowledge, the stones of return stabilize the dungeon and also serve as the key to exiting it. But if you look at the stones from the monster's side, 30 days after the appearance of the dungeon, they may represent the key to opening the gates to Earth. This sounded quite convincing to Woo-jin. The doctor continued that in the first days, the monsters appearing in the dungeon were weak. And in most cases, in the past, mostly rank 4 dungeons were formed. And the reason why they suffered such huge losses was that they were not properly prepared for battle. The hero thought that they were smaller in size, but their movements were different from those in the dungeon. Maybe this is because they materialized a minimum of energy, for example, like BB. Currently, after the dungeon shock, rank 5 and 6 dungeons have begun to appear more frequently. Thus, it is only a matter of time before rank 7 dungeons appear. Woo-jin agreed, but the question still remained. Why did such a phenomenon arise in the first place? Dungeons are more than just mines. The heliotropes that are brought out of the dungeon are actually baits. The more heliotropes on Earth, the better the environment for monsters. The energy contained in heliotropes is known as mana on Alzina. Monsters increase the amount of mana on the ground, forcing people to take out and use crystals. Consequently, they create an environment where monsters can materialize. Woo-jin listened and said that he would remember Professor James Toppler. Woo-jin received a call from Ha-min. He apologized for interrupting his boss's rest, but Woo-jin has to come to the press conference. Many people gathered in the hall, including Lee Sang-ho and Min Chan. Woo-jin sat between them. Min Chang said he was sorry, but he couldn't refuse the interview. He asked Woo-jin not to answer difficult questions. Woo-jin looked at Lee Sang-ho and immediately realized that he had jumped into an ace up his sleeve. A man from the audience asked Lee Sang-ho if this reckless raid was pre-planned before the Hwarang and Ardal guilds broke up, or if it was a spontaneous decision. Sang-ho replied that no such instructions had been received, and the vice leader of the guild, Lee Yoon-hee, made the decision herself. He added that he thinks she was just promoting Woo-jin, who has been in the spotlight lately, the man said, which means Lee Yoon-hee recklessly went to the dungeon to save Kang Woo-jin. Then the man has a question specifically for him. He asked about how their teamwork with Lee Yoon-hee went during the raid, and asked to talk about the process itself and the death of Lee Yoon-hee. The man also asked about how she died, and whether Woo-jin did everything he could to save her. Lee Sang-ho thought that they should continue to bombard the hero with questions, because he dared to cross the road of their guild. It turns out that Lee Sang-ho himself called the reporters and said that he had information and suspicions about Kang Woo-jin. A man from the audience asked Woo-jin not to remain silent, because the country has the right to know. People began to whisper that the death of the team leader could be connected to the hero. Min Chan thought to himself that things were bad and he felt like they were in court. If he had known that this would happen, he would have refused the press conference. Woo-jin was angry. He stood up and asked the people what they wanted. The man reiterated that the country has a right to know, to which Woo-jin told him to stop talking nonsense. Everyone in the audience and Lee Sang-ho were shocked. And then, suddenly, Woo-jin picks up and kicks Lee Sang-ho out of his chair. The audience is in shock. Sang-ho asked the hero what he was doing. Woo-jin asked how Lee Sang-ho had the nerve to set him up. Woo-jin grabbed him by the collar, but then Sang-ho said that Woo-jin had gone crazy and they were on live television. Sang-ho said with a grin that the hero screwed up and the whole country was looking at him. But Woo-jin was not bothered by this. The population of Alphen is 1 to 2 billion. The hero has killed so many that he no longer remembers. and absolutely everyone in that world was watching his every move, so the live broadcast of one country is nothing for him. Wu Jin asked if Lee Sang-ho wanted to be beaten on live television. The man clearly did not expect this. And then Wu Jin hit Sang-ho in the face with all his might. Seung-hoon watched everything happening on TV. He was shocked and said that just think, he once tried to deceive the hero. However, he thought that doing such a thing at a press conference was risky. Does Wu Jin really care about public opinion? Seung-hoon said that Wu Jin has done something crazy again, and that's all they talk about on the internet. Suddenly, Seung-hoon saw a headline about a certain new saint. This interested him very much. Seung-hoon watched everything online. Hundreds of people arrived to receive Saint Murdy's favor. Seung-hoon said that she is an elf, and her beauty is beyond their world. People watched a man sitting on a wheelchair. This is Mr. Smith, who has a congenital weakness in his body. People wondered if he would be able to rise today, for the first time in his life. They wanted to see this miracle with their own eyes. Murdy only gently touched the man's head when, unexpectedly for everyone, he stood up from his chair. Seung-hoon began to think that this was a staged act. The man was infinitely grateful to Mrs. Murdy. She replied that God's favor has no bounds for those who believe in him, and she is only his messenger. Seung-hoon thought it was impossible. There are many awakenings with similar abilities or potions, but none of them can cure someone who is sick from birth. This is truly amazing. Is she really a messenger of the Almighty? Already hundreds of thousands of people follow her and become members of the Order of Arya. No one has yet doubted her miraculous abilities. Still, it's funny that after she left the dungeon, she was in a state of aphasia. She managed to learn the Earth language in just a couple of days. Goddess Arya, goddess of fertility and providence in the world of Alphen. She is the one who introduced herself as a priest serving Arya and demonstrated many miracles. And not only does she have magical healing, but she can also convey Arya's prediction through divine revelation, which is truly incredible. Because of her ability to predict the location and time of a dungeon, Awakening was able to clear 5- and 6-star dungeons in just a week. But there is a condition for using this power. It is necessary to found a squad of paladins serving the goddess Arya. A man from the guild asked about how things were going with the creation of a squad of paladins. The assistant replied that they had received a lot of applications. It's alarming that most of the awakened ones in their guild are asking for a transfer. The man replied that nothing could be done about it. If they can't stop them, then they need to get the most out of them. In any case, at the moment, this woman is the best awakened one with SS rank. Meanwhile, at the press conference, Min-chan tried to calm Wu Jin down, saying that if he continued, they might get into trouble. Wu Jin picked up the once again beaten Lee Sang-ho and threw him to the ground. Wu Jin told people who asked how Lee Yoon-hee died that she tried to kill him, and as everyone can see, it didn't work out. Wu Jin said they have the nerve to accuse him of murder. The hero threatened them, saying that if he saw them again, they would not get off easily. People were shocked, and Wu Jin turned around with Min-chan and left. Min-chan asked if what Wu Jin said was true. The hero replied that it was true. He added that he killed her and the blame lies with the Hwarang Guild president. Wu Jin asked why Min-chan was so surprised. That the hero killed a woman, or that the Hwarang Guild was hunting for him. Min-chan thought that even taking into account the fact that they tried to kill the hero, it was extremely strange to be so calm after the butts of a person. Wu Jin said that at least it was good for them since he got rid of Yoon-hee who was in his way. Min-chan said he was worried about what would happen next. Wu Jin asked Min-chan if he knew what people who act on the sly cannot handle. With the fact that they begin to act against them openly. That's when the headache starts, because they won't be able to plot in secret. Then Min-chan realized that that's why Wu Jin changed the atmosphere from "Did Kang Wu Jin incite Yoon-hee's death?" to "Did Hwarang really want to set up Kang Wu Jin's murder?" Since there is no way to prove what was in the dungeon. Min-chan was shocked that Wu Jin had thought this through so much. Min-chan asked how they would deal with the consequences. And then Wu Jin said that it was not them but Min-chan, because this is his job. He didn't think anything through, damn boss. Wu Jin suggested that he raise his salary according to his wishes. Walking out of the building, a crowd of people was waiting for Wu Jin. They were glad to see him. These were residents who were hiding in shelters. They wanted to thank the hero. They thanked Wu Jin for protecting their homes, said that they would always root for him, and so on. A girl with flowers ran up to Wu Jin. Wu Jin was touched by this. He thought that such things were really pleasing. Minchan said that he cannot understand Wu Jin. He is on a completely different level, and now he is a hero who defended the entire city. Li Sang-ho was incredibly angry at Wu Jin. The hero beat him to a pulp. Sang-ho decided that he would do whatever it took to finish off Kang Wu Jin. We moved to America, Manhattan, to the headquarters of the Titan Guild, the Order of Arya. Murdy was praying to the goddess when a woman friend called out to her and said that the guildmaster had arrived. He entered and bowed to Murdy. She asked about the process of creating a paladin squad. The master replied that it was excellent and that many applications had been received. The Order of Paladins will be heroes in the Holy War that will save Alphen. They will lead them and take Alphen back. Murdy said that it would be too late if their main troops invaded them. The Earth will suffer a catastrophe just like Alphen. Alphen and Earth, holy war to protect both worlds, and yet, it's hard to believe. If this is true, then this is not a problem that their guild can solve alone. They will need the help of people from all over the world. The master said that he had more news. He found the man Murdy mentioned in her prediction. The goddess was very happy. She looked at the screen and asked why this man was on Earth. The master did not fully understand and asked what was the matter. A ruthless, immortal necromancer. Is Kang Wu Jin really the savior from the prophecies? 6 days after clearing the dungeon, Wu Jin received a subpoena. Li Sang-ho sued him. Wu Jin was very angry. He was going to forget about it, but apparently it wouldn't work out. Sun Gu said that the hero has 2 more days before submitting a report to the police. Wu Jin asked why he had to go there, and the hero was about to pay a visit to the Hwarang Guild. Everyone was simply shocked by his fearlessness and carelessness. Wu Jin said that everything is going according to his plan, and there is no need to be so surprised. Minchan, in a cold sweat, asked to leave this to him, since there was no need to complicate the situation. Wu Jin tried to object, but Minchan convinced him. The hero asked if he could help with anything. Minchan replied yes. Minchan asked to be allowed to hire more workers, because if they want to solve the problem, they will need a lawyer, as well as more support staff. Wu Jin thought about this question. Bloodstones continue to accumulate on the earth. At this rate, not just monsters from Alphen, but minions of Tranit will appear. By the hero's minions, he means 72 captains under the direct command of Tranit. Each of them is too dangerous for one person to cope with. Even with Ugin's followers from Alphen, an army of undead and the help of the Alphen Alliance, they could barely fight on equal terms with the Tranit army. But now he has these 4, which is not good. What kind of resistance can we talk about if the only one among them who has awakened is Hong Sun Gu, and his only strength is his kind heart? Min Chang asked what about hiring workers. Ugin agreed, but said to try to recruit more awakened ones. The hero turned to Sun Gu and told him to follow him. They went to the dungeon where Sun Gu fought monsters. Sun Gu managed it and told Wu Jin that he felt like he had become stronger. He collected a lot of stones. Wu Jin thought that he was collecting these stones so quickly that you would think he was hunting monsters or something. Wu Jin called out to Sun Gu, telling him to stop collecting bloodstones and come to him. The hero asked Sun Gu how strong he wanted to become. Wu Jin said that he is sure that the guy has a goal, or does he really want to continue collecting these stones for him for years? Wu Jin is right. Sun Gu's original dream is to become a high-class fire magician. What will he achieve as a stone collector? Nowadays, Sun Gu is busy with driving, carrying supplies, mining amnets, and booking dungeons. Wu Jin asked the guy if he was happy with the current result. Sun Gu replied that no, and he told about his dream. Sun Gu said that he would do anything to become stronger, even if he was tired to death. In that case, Wu Jin said that they will start now. The hero said that he would make Song Gu A rank in 1 month. Sun Gu was shocked that it had come to this. Is it possible to become A rank in a month? Sun Gu was running when he suddenly met a skeleton soldier. He can't relax. 1 hit and he's dead. You need to use the skill, after which it will increase the distance. He attacked the skeleton with his fire magic and it worked. However, the skeleton was able to wound Sun Gu in the shoulder with his sword. Sun Gu doubled over in pain. Wu Jin came over and told him to get up and asked how long the guy was going to lie down. First, Wu Jin asked if Sun Gu really thought he could defeat his skeleton with his fireball. To survive, Sun Gu must want to become stronger himself, because monsters will appear not only in dungeons. Wu Jin told Sun Gu to imagine that dungeon breaks would happen in all the stations around the world. And then, in just 3 days, half the population will be exterminated. Sun Gu didn't understand what kind of nonsense Wu Jin was talking about. Wu Jin said that if this happens, he will have to protect his family, and he will not have time for Sun Gu. Therefore, the guy must learn to survive on his own. Wu Jin said that if Sun Gu wants to protect his family as well, then he must make sure that he is strong enough. Sun Gu stood up in terrible pain and persistently began to ask Wu Jin to teach him. This is what Wu Jin wanted to hear. The heroes went to the Chunbok stop and sat down to have a snack. Wu Jin asked if Sun Gu was tired. The guy thought about how he could not get tired after these crazy workouts. Wu Jin relieved Sun Gu's overwork with his skill. If he feels tired, it means his mind is weak and wants rest. Wu Jin told the guy to hypnotize himself or something to overcome his fatigue. Suddenly they heard a report about Murdy on TV. They said that her blessing saved so many and that what she was doing was a miracle. Wu Jin said that she reminds him of someone and even acts the same. Sun Gu said that she was beautiful and looked like an elf. Ugin replied that she was not an elf. You could tell by her ears. They said on TV that everything they had seen up to that moment was Saint Arya, the miracles of Mrs. Murdy. Wu Jin recognized her and couldn't believe it was true Murdy. He didn't understand why she was here. Wu Jin arrived at his guild office. The hero asked Min Chan to get him tickets to America. Min Chan thought that the hero was talking about his invitation to the consortium. Wu Jin didn't understand what he was talking about. Chief Jun said that the Titan Guild had previously saved someone in the dungeon. This was a saint known as Murdy. Her mind-boggling abilities raise many questions among people. In this regard, the Titan Guild sent an invitation to the consortium to all guilds from all over the world. Wu Jin said it doesn't matter, and let Min Chan just get the tickets. Min Chan thought that the hero would not be interested in this. He began to think what happened. Chapter Jun also gave the hero books of skills and enhancement cameras that he ordered. Wu Jin said that it was time, and he would just instruct Sun Gu to learn all this tomorrow. But Wu Jin ordered more. Min Chang said that they are now cut in finances due to previous expenses. After all, skill books and enhancement stones have always been a luxury. Wu Jin asked if there were any dungeons nearby. Chief Jun replied that there are many of them, but unfortunately it is difficult for small guilds like theirs to claim ownership of them, unlike large guilds. Wu Jin asked about breaking through 6-star dungeons. Min Chang said there is one request from the Ministry of Defense, but he has doubts. Wu Jin asked what was going on, and it turned out that it was in Pyongyang, North Korea. We are transported there and see a man repenting before the president. The man asked for mercy and to give him another chance. The president said that how can he expect mercy from him while he himself ran away with his tail between his legs. The man was choking in tears, but the president was adamant and pointed a gun at him. The president shot him and ordered his subordinates to clean up this trash. This doesn't seem like something their republic can handle alone. The president asked about the request to South Korea. The subordinate said he had great news. Kim Jong-un was very happy and looked forward to meeting South Korea's greatest hero, Kang Woo-jin. Woo-jin joked about Pyongyang several times, but who knew that everything would turn out like this? Suddenly, the same Hae-so called out to him and said hello. She will accompany him to Pyongyang. The hero said that he would also be much more comfortable with a person he already knows. The heroes were driving along the highway and it was empty. The hero thought that there would be a lot of soldiers at military installations, but it's pretty quiet here. Hae-so said that very few areas of North Korea have developed well. Most of the country looks like theirs in the 70s. Even Pyongyang has only one metro. Wu Jin was surprised that they asked for help since they couldn't handle such a small thing. He asked the girl if there were really no awakened people in North Korea. She replied that compared to their country, there are much fewer of them. Therefore, it is difficult for them to assemble a team consisting only of A-rankers. In addition, the mortality rate among their awakened ones is quite high. Wu Jin said that he believed that they could die either in the dungeon or simply be shot. Hae-so said that they didn't have too much trouble before because they were supported by China until now. But this time they tried to figure out the problem on their own and failed. And China only defiantly watched their failures. Therefore, North Korea requested help from many countries around the world. Wu Jin said that it seemed like they didn't think it was profitable to share the loot from a high-ranking dungeon with China. Hae-so said that it is. Wu Jin wanted to quickly sort everything out and leave. He asked Hae-seo to make sure that he gets half a month as originally promised. The condition that Ugin insisted on was to allow him to spend half a month in the dungeon from the moment the first cleanup began. Negotiations between North and South will begin after the arrival of the North Side delegation, but this is a pretty small request for the first person to clear the dungeon, so Seo thinks everything should go smoothly. However, this is only if the dungeon is successfully cleared. If it fails, the result will be Woojin's death, and North Korea will suffer huge financial losses. Gradually, relations between North and South will become worse than ever. Now everything is in Woojin's hands. The heroes arrived at the place. This is the Gyumsusan Sun Memorial Palace. Woojin noticed that the building was quite bulky, but did not understand why there were tanks there. So began to explain that the Palace of the Sun was originally a building that represented North Korea. Gwangmyeon Station, the dungeon Woojin must clear, is very close. These are measures to prevent a breakout from the dungeon. The man told the heroes to follow him. They came to a hall where a large number of North Korean soldiers stood guard. Haeseo said that they are not in a hurry. Haeseo asked if he was nervous, to which Woojin responded in the negative. This is an obvious psychological trick aimed at depressing guests by making them wait so long. It was announced that the first chairman of the National Defense Committee had arrived. Kim Jong-un extended his hand to the hero and said that he was glad to meet him. The president had heard well about the hero. Woojin thought to himself about what kind of pig this is in front of him. Woojin did not particularly respectfully extend his hand and greet the president on a first-name basis. Everyone was simply shocked, and the North Korean soldiers told the hero to be polite. Woojin said he was glad to see them and called the president Yong-un. Haeseo didn't understand what the hell. Even though he did something similar to the president of the Hwarang Guild, it seemed to her that the hero, without instructions, would understand how to behave in the presence of this person. The soldiers pointed their guns at Woojin and were outraged by the way he communicated with the leader. Haeseo was in a cold sweat and thought that that was it, they were dead. Woojin said he was polite as they asked, "What's the problem?" Haeseo thought that now neither the dungeon nor anything else matters, because they could die right here. But unexpectedly for everyone, Kim Jong-un laughed and said that Woojin is undoubtedly an open person, as expected from the strongest man in the South. He patted the hero on the shoulder and invited him to sit down. Woojin suggested getting straight to the point since he was going to go to the dungeon immediately. One of the soldiers was furious and silently called Woojin an insolent dog. The leader laughed and said that Woojin is very straightforward. He had already heard about his condition. Woojin wants to occupy the dungeon for half a month and then take all the resources received. Kim Jong-un said that of course this would not cause much harm to the government. They will fulfill his conditions if the hero clears the dungeon properly. Woojin stood up and wanted to go in that case. The leader said that he was very impatient. He suggested taking a photo before he left. Haeseo was seriously sure that her heart would fail. She asked if Woojin had forgotten that they were in Pyongyang. She asked me to be more careful in my choice of words next time. Woojin said that he was already careful. In fact, when meeting the leader, he thought about just killing him, but he would have been fired. Woojin said goodbye and said he was leaving. Haeseo wished him to return safe and sound. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un watched everything through binoculars. He told his subordinate that Woojin was amazing and how wonderful it would be if such an incredibly strong person appeared in their country. The leader was confident that Woojin would certainly cope with the task. Woojin should do it. At this time, Woojin felt something strange, as if someone had touched him. He thought it might be a monster. In the dungeon, Ugin and Bibi ended up in the Tranit colony. There was some kind of stench here. Woojin said that if anyone from the 72nd mission leaves, he will finish him off. This is a fight against humanity. The Vesiki, the lowest monsters of Tranit, appeared as heroes. Their front legs are like swords. They also tend to move in groups. Ugin directed Dolso, a huge glowing golem, at them. The Vesiki were quickly killed. Ugin began summoning skeleton soldiers and skeleton mages. He said that in terms of quantity there will be more here. Now ranchers have appeared, the lower monsters of Tranit, which spit tentacles from their mouths that resemble sharp needles. Rokto is there too. This is a monster with great strength and high defense. His huge body alone looks menacing. Woojin told Dolso to distract him. All of Ugin's forces were ready for battle. The warrior's weapon form is now an axe. Ugin and the skeletons deftly dealt with the ranchers, cutting them into pieces. Bibi put the monsters to sleep with her hypnosis. Due to Rokto's solid body, no attacks will affect him. Ugin was sorry that in such a situation he could not summon a Death Knight and a Lich. However, he surrounded Rokto in a bone wall. He also used the Bang skill. Instead, the hero has the attacking skills of a warrior. It was 12 days later in the dungeon. Wujin asked if the area around the center was a colony. This is a hatchery. Bibi said that it looks like they are not ready yet. They will not be able to meet the owner of this colony, although they would like to know who it was. They wanted to end it and leave. Ugin uses resurrection of corpses. He can control a corpse. A dead body can use 50% of its original abilities, but only carries out simple orders. Wujin ordered them to go ahead and they went to the incubator. Wujin also used explosion. This is a skill thanks to which you can blow up a corpse that is located 10 meters from the control or the corpse that is being controlled. After the explosion, the hero thought that a homecoming stone had appeared, but it was not him. It turned out to be a fragment of a dimension. The material world consists of it, used to form spatial sacred ground. Wujin asked Bibi if she knew about the spatial sacred land, to which she replied that she had heard about it for the first time. The hero decided that since Bibi doesn't know, there's no point in thinking about it. The time would come when the hero would need to use it, so he put it in his inventory. At the same time, in the secret room of Kim Jong-un's hobbies, subordinates were establishing something. It turned out to be a huge photo of him and Wujin. One of the soldiers asked what to do with the other photo, to which the leader said to throw it in the trash. Another soldier came in and said there was good news for the leader. It turns out that Comrade Kang Woo-jin has successfully cleared Gwangmyeon Station. Kim Jong-un was simply shocked and could not believe it. The leader ordered Comrade Woo-jin to be brought here because he must treat the hero who saved Pyongyang well. Nothing is certain. Comrade Woo-jin may return here because he will feel good treatment from their republic. However, the commander of the unit, Ri Peng-guan, was clearly not favorable to Woo-jin and was angry that the hero was able to clear the dungeon in just 3 days. Woo-jin came out of the dungeon and people started taking pictures of him. Reporters began talking about his powerful abilities and compared him to Murdy from America. A joyful Hae-seo ran up to Woo-jin. She congratulated the hero on the successful cleanup. Woo-jin said that this is what they came here for, to which Hae-seo said that she did not expect Woo-jin to be so successful. Woo-jin asked where the negotiators were. Hae-seo replied that they are here, both sides, south and north. They are just waiting for the results of the hero's cleansing. Woo-jin said that there was nothing to wait for, because since he was here, the cleanup was 100% successful. Hae-seo didn't want to say that the negotiating team thought his chances of failure were 70%. But then Woo-jin turned around and said that he was confident in the excellent work of the negotiators, so he would blow back into the dungeon. Hae-seo screamed for Woo-jin to rest a little. He left again headlong. It looks like Hae-seo will have to report the situation alone. Some soldier ran up to Hae-seo and asked where Comrade Woo-jin had gone. She replied that he went back to the dungeon. The soldier was confused and said that something terrible had happened. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un commanded the banquet. He demanded that everything be done in the best possible way, because they should not lose to South Korea. 14 days later, the hero and his assistants continued to kill monsters. Auto-hunting is quite an entertaining thing. The hero has reached level 60, and new warrior class perks have been unlocked. A new weapon form is the bow, obtained the archer, blind shot, and flurry of fire skills. The hero purchased a bone bow and decided to try it right away. The impact area is larger and the speed is higher than that of a bone spear. That's pretty good. The hero looked at the privileges of the warrior class. Now it's time to summon the goblin. A dark guy appeared, who said that he and the master had not seen each other for a long time. This is a shadow spirit. He is able to read the owner's emotions, share thoughts, and take control of the owner. As always, Woo-jin looked at him with disgust. The goblin said that since the hero hated him so much, he should just give him a new body. A particularly good option is Woo-jin's body. Woo-jin told him to stop. He will call him when he is needed, but until then, the goblin must return to his shadow. The goblin agreed and disappeared. Woo-jin said he was creepy. Looks like this place is done. If Woo-jin hurries, he might have time to clear this dungeon again today. Coming out of the dungeon, the hero saw that Hae-seo was waiting for him. She began to beg the hero on her knees. She asked him to take a break before he went to clear the dungeon again. All this is useless if he, Their hero is here. Wu Jin said the same thing again. A few days ago, before the next clearing of the dungeon, Haiseo said that this raid was announced as a joint effort of both Koreas, and they needed Wu Jin to be there. The hero replied that these were the affairs of politicians, and it was time for him to return. Haiseo tried to stop him. Earlier, before another purge, Haiseo said that Wu Jin should go with her, to which he replied that she should go on her own. And now Haiseo says that the situation can't get any worse. She asked the hero to think about his country and take a break before the purge. If this time he doesn't go with her, then she knows what it could turn into. The hero still came to the feast, but he was very bored. Wu Jin stood up and decided to go now that they were done. Haiseo thanked him for coming. Suddenly, one of the soldiers asked the hero to leave his autograph on a piece of paper, because he is the strongest awakened one in North Korea, and this is a great honor. It turned out that it was Kim Jong-un who ordered an autograph for him. Ugin told the goblin to attach himself to him and report everything that was happening. The soldier told the commander that everything was ready and asked if they should follow him. The commander said to blow as inconspicuously as possible. He was incredibly angry that Wu Jin allowed himself to look down on their North Korea. The commander attached a lot of explosives to himself. He said that this was all for the sake of their president, whose mind was clouded by this scoundrel. 2 soldiers approached Ugin, who was preparing to go underground, and wished him good luck. As he left, one of the soldiers told the other to hurry up before the barrier disappeared. The soldier caught up with Ugin, and the hero asked why he was following him. The soldier said he had an urgent message from the president. Kim Jong-un conveyed thanks for everything to his comrade from South Korea. The soldier pressed the button, and an explosion occurred. Another soldier was watching everything and saw that the barrier was not disappearing. It was strange that Ugin didn't die instantly. Even so, he must have mortal wounds. It is only a matter of time before he becomes prey for monsters. The commander said that Ugin should give up and finally die. This operation was destined for success. 2 days have passed since Ugin entered the dungeon. Haiseo was talking in the meeting room with the South Korean representative. They discussed that Wu Jin had not returned yet, and the barrier was also not reacting. This put them in a difficult position. A day has already passed since the deadline that Kang Woo-jin requested. It is unknown what compensation North Korea will request. Is there something wrong? The last purge of Kang Woo-jin lasted 1 day and 17 hours. By this time he should have left already. But unforeseen circumstances can happen in a dungeon. Haiseo showed a photo of a foreign reporter, where a North Korean military man followed him right after Wu Jin entered the dungeon. They should immediately investigate and protest against North Korea. The representative asked if Haiseo valued her life. He said that this is Pyongyang, and if they go against them based on a tiny doubt, then it is not a fact that it will be safe. But Haiseo objected, saying that they couldn't just sit and wait. The representative slammed the table and told Lieutenant Haiseo to think before speaking. Perhaps there is a possibility that there is a wiretap here. They are also not sure if the hero is alive. He suggested we just wait. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un learned about the reporter's photographs. He got angry and the soldiers said they would find out right away. The president demanded that these bastards be found and brought to him. 3 days have passed since Ugin entered the dungeon. Haiseo waited and hoped that he was okay. But suddenly, people started saying that the barrier was changing. The barrier has disappeared! And suddenly Ugin comes out safe and sound. He was incredibly angry and said that they all wanted to die. Wu Jin demanded that this vile pig be brought to him, meaning Kim Jong-un. He also stated that if he himself does not agree, then the hero himself will come to him. The soldiers started pointing their guns at Wu Jin, but he intercepted them, saying that he survived the explosion, so the gun wouldn't do anything to him. Bibi appeared in the form of a cat and she used her sleep spell skill. Bibi asked Wu Jin what if he was convicted of all these murders. The hero told Bibi not to bother him, but then suddenly some began to get up. They said that their republic is not weak, and they will not allow the garbage from South Korea to pass into Pyongyang. They knew things would turn out this way. It looks like they are awakened ones from North Korea. Some of them were quite strong. But the hero activated the ghost spear skill and began to kill them. No matter how strong they are at most A rank. Goblin energy was coming from somewhere. Exhausted, Haiseo asked the hero to stop. It turned out that she was also a level 11 awakening. She has an F rank. She is slightly better than an ordinary person, but how was she able to overcome Bibi's spell? What kind of terrifying fortitude is this? She stood up and once again asked to stop the wait, because they would not be able to fix the situation if he did not stop now. Wu Jin said there was no need to correct her. The only one who should correct her is the fat pig who betrayed him. Hae-so was shocked. She thought that a North Korean spy was trying to eliminate Wu Jin. She shouted that even so the hero must come to terms with this, since at this rate a real war could begin. Hae-so asked the hero to think about the country, but Wu Jin was adamant. He told Hae-seo that if she doesn't want to die, then don't let her get in his way. She replied that if he wanted to get through her, then let him kill her. Wu Jin said that apparently nothing could be done if Hae-so decided to go that far. The girl began to rejoice, saying that the hero made the right choice. But Hae-so didn't have time to finish when Wu Jin picks up and hits the girl. He didn't intend to kill her, but simply made her relax and lie there for a while. On the way to Kim Jong-un's bunker, the hero was shot at from numerous machine guns, but his ghost armor skill was activated. He found the bunker, and when he saw it, he said that the pig had hidden well. He started shouting, asking to talk. The soldiers in the bunker said that the president had nothing to worry about as the bunker could withstand any bomb. But suddenly some unknown monster broke through this huge iron door. It was Wu Jin who summoned Rocky, using metal as an intermediary. Wu Jin walked in with a smile and said that now they can talk. Bibi put all the guard soldiers to sleep with her spell. Wu Jin asked how Kim Jong-un dared to raise his hand against him. The president replied that he had never even thought of such a thing. Wu Jin was not satisfied with this, and he has a way to find out the truth. And this method is the same goblin. It will provide insight into the president's personal life. But then Wu Jin saw the portrait, how Kim Jong-un was furious with this incident. It looks like he really didn't do it. Now we need to somehow get out of this. Wu Jin asked if Jong-un really didn't do this, to which the man replied that he swears and is not lying. In this case, Ugin ordered to find the smart guy who tried to undermine the hero. If not, then the president will die in his place. The president, in a cold sweat, promised to do this, to find this bastard no matter what the cost. Wu Jin extended his hand and apologized for the misunderstanding. Kim Jong-un was happy and said that he was glad that he understood his feelings for him. However, Wu Jin had such a big fan that he didn't even know he had. It's hard to believe that Kim Jong-un was a fan of the awakened ones. He collected many artifacts that he never even used. Wu Jin decided that he would accept it as a gift. According to the goblin's recollection, Ugin went in search of a room with artifacts. Suddenly, someone stops him. It was Hae-so, who suddenly woke up and was angry. Wu Jin was surprised and thought that he hit too weakly. She again asked the hero to stop, but Wu Jin said it was all over. The whole world flashed before Hae-so's eyes. Has he already killed him? She thought that it was all over and the war could not be stopped, but Wu Jin said that Kim Jong-un is still alive. Hae-seo was shocked and asked if Wu Jin was going to kill him now. She asked the hero to come to his senses and said that if his anger could not be pacified with words, then let him take her life. Wu Jin became interested in the fact that she was willing to give her life. Hae-seo said that if it helped stop the war between the Koreas, then she would be honored to sacrifice herself. I wonder if she's not lying. Although she does not have a pure and innocent soul like Sun-gu or Ji-won, this is the first time that Wu Jin has seen such fire in her eyes. And then the hero says that the girl is too valuable to be killed and invites her to leave her position. She was at a loss. The hero invited her to leave her military position and work for him, and then he would spare Chen-un. The girl asked why the hero spoke so sharply about this. He replied that since she was ready to offer her life, didn't that mean that she now completely belonged to him? He wants Hae-so to give up her career as a soldier, which she has been pursuing for so long. She would happily do it if it would help stop the war. But why? In the end, she agreed. 3 days later, Kim Jong-un caught Lee Pyong-kwan and everyone involved. And as always, there were innocents among those caught. They were tortured. The men began to make excuses, saying that they had nothing to do with it. This lie only angered the president. He said that they even stole treasures that people had obtained with sweat and blood. One of the men said that he really doesn't know what treasures the president is talking about, and he is sure that this is the work of Wu Jin. Chen-un was completely furious and ordered to beat them until they remembered. The president was tormented by the thought that such a traitor was so close to him. If it weren't for Comrade Woojin, the consequences would have been more serious. Meanwhile, Woojin and Haeseo returned to South Korea. It was the girl who was most happy. Everything ended well, but Haeseo was incredibly nervous these 3 days, and Ugin raised the level and filled his inventory. He even found a new employee in the process. The trip to North Korea was successful. The next point is the United States. Woojin can't wait to see what awaits him at this time. The guys watched the news. They said that based on the news received, it can be concluded that the person who organized the coup is Lee Pyong-kwan, who is currently the leader of the superpower of the Korean National Republic. Awakened like two sides of a coin. They are the ones who have strength beyond human power and protect them from monsters, but they can also commit crimes with ease. The men said that if it were not for Kang Woojin, there is a high probability that because of this coup, Kim Jong-un would have been overthrown from power. He asked the other for his opinion. The man replied that the very fact that some individual with a radical ideology had control over North Korea is frightening. Woojin's contribution to Koretz's relationship is amazing, and they plan to award him with a presidential order. Suddenly, Seung-hoon gets up and begins to say that this is 100% a lie because someone like their boss couldn't do something without making mistakes. Seung-hoon thought that he might have blackmailed or threatened Kim Jong-un. He continued by saying that they made it look like Lee Pyong-wang was the thief of all the artifacts, but in reality it was Woojin who stole them. This is quite likely. Ha-min said that even if he were a saboteur, he couldn't just go and clean everything out. Seung-hoon replied that he didn't think he was a saboteur, but he was someone who didn't think about his actions at all. Sung-gu said that he first met him like this when he killed the entire team that was trying to rob Woojin. Then all the guild members agreed that it was Woojin who cleaned out the entire treasury of Kim Jong-un. Seung-hoon said that this is why they cannot believe everything the media says. Perhaps Woojin has already killed Kim Jong-un. Ha-min didn't want to believe it and said that the boss couldn't do that. And then Sung-gu turned black before his eyes. The guy said that before this, Woojin had already offered him to go with him and kill Kim Jong-un. Seung-hoon got goosebumps all over his arm. This happened when Woojin received a summons to the army. Seung-hoon was shocked and said that Woojin is a fucking psycho. Suddenly, Woojin entered the office, scaring everyone present. The hero asked Seung-hoon why he was so alarmed. Woojin asked if they were gossiping about him behind his back, to which Seung-hoon replied that they wouldn't dare. The guys decided to get together in a restaurant and have a drink. Woojin told them to eat well, because they must eat well in order to plow well. Min Chang asked if the Duke was really not going to the Blue House, to which Woojin coldly replied that he was not, and asked not to ask him about it. Woojin doesn't want to resort to the president at his first word. Woojin stood up and wanted to leave to let everyone know, but Min Chan said there was no need for that. He said he would simply politely decline their request. Head Jun was on edge. He didn't understand how to deal with this. He had more than 100 unread messages and 27 missed calls. Eun's son showed Murdy and invited the hero to take a look, because she is now the most popular of all. Woojin said yes, the video is not fake. The hero said that he just knows her. All the guys were incredibly surprised. Min Chun said that she was first found in the dungeon during research. She should be on par with S-rank awakened ones. How can Woojin know her? Woojin began to tell him that 5 years ago he disappeared, and the planet he was thrown onto is called Alphen. Everyone was shocked, and Seung-hoon said that the joke was too difficult to understand. Woojin told him to shut up because it wasn't a joke. Not only people lived on Alphen, there were also monsters and hybrids. In an attempt to survive, he fought them for 20 years. And in the end, he was able to return to Earth, where only 5 years had passed. Min Chan noticed the time difference in the dungeons. Ugin said that just like on Alphen, dungeons also began to appear on Earth. Min Chan thought about it. If this is true, then he can now understand why Woojin is so inhumanly strong. This also explains the fact that Woojin can communicate with others so easily. If you think about it, he is about 44 years old. And yet, it was there that Woojin learned about Murdy. He doesn't know how she got to Earth, but they will only understand it when he goes and asks her. Sun-gu asked if the hero could tell them all this like this. Ugin said that he doesn't have to hide it, because they live in a world where priestesses appear from dungeons. Min Chan asked about what kind of relationship the hero had with Murdy. The hero replied that she was like a friend to him. Meanwhile, Murdy prayed to the goddess, saying that a ruthless, immortal necromancer was coming. 5 years ago on Alphen, Murdy and the general arrived somewhere. She asked if everything would be okay. This place is Death Valley. This is where no one returns. The general said it was true, but it was the only way to survive. If they stop, they will be caught by Thranit and the Immortal. Suddenly, one of the warriors said that someone was hovering above them. It seems a certain Ardal has caught up with them. The general told the soldiers to hold on, because they would soon face Ardal. Suddenly the general falls and is left without a head. It was Ujin floating in the sky. He wonders why the dogs from the Alliance suddenly decided to show up here. Is this really the safest way to commit suicide? Seong-hoon started to fall asleep and dreamed of Wu Jin beating him again. Wu Jin asked if he should kill him this time. You can't tell right away who is worse, a fraudster or an idiot who beats the crap out of him. Sung-woo told Wu Jin that he was worried that the boss was so indifferent to the media and what was happening around him. Wu Jin replied that he should get used to it since he doesn't need details. Min Chan added that the hero should pay attention to official affairs and think about social media. Isolation at the international level. Is there anything good that comes from acquiring new enemies? This didn't bother Wu Jin before. He cared about the country and cared about how others viewed him, because he cared about public opinion. Wu Jin said that if you think about it, you won't get far at this rate. Min Chan was perplexed by this answer. It will be a disaster. The time will soon come when all the dungeons in the world will break out at once, a catastrophe that cannot be compared with the shock of 5 years ago. Wu Jin asked if laws and countries would exist after this. Min Chang replied that even if the dungeons broke through, the army would be able to suppress them. Wu Jin said that they may be able to suppress 6-star monsters, but what if they are stronger? Wu Jin said to imagine that the 6-star monster is a pet dog. But what if there is an influx of tigers, lions, elephants? Even dragons can be compared. Modern firearms would be useless, even against the ghosts that would fly around them. Wu Jin asked what would be used to stop them then. Nuclear weapon. This is a direct path to suicide. The world will collapse, and the borders that are called countries will be erased into dust and ashes. Morality will turn into myth, and all that will remain is the desire to survive. But Sun Gu objected that even so, he was confident that people would unite to defeat a common enemy. Yes, there really will be such people. Warriors, kings, saints, and their knights, even knights from the United Kingdoms. But it's no use. Everyone will try to grab their piece until everything collapses. Ultimately, people will turn on each other, succumbing to temptation and forming associations only to achieve their own goals. Sun Gu asked what to do then, since they can't just sit and wait for this. Wu Jin replied that this is exactly what they are preparing for. The world will need a hero in times of disaster. Therefore, they need a strong leader. The opinions of others, an offensive article, a summons for a police investigation, all this is useless. On the contrary, Wu Jin must show them more of how arrogant and cruel he can be. Meanwhile, Lee Sang-ho read the news about how Wu Jin became the hero who saved North Korea. He was furious that a bastard like Wu Jin could pull this off. He did not understand how such a rebel could be so praised. Lee Sna-ho asked what the hell this President Kim is doing. He said that he would cut off his tail, but he would survive, didn't he? But Lee Sang-ho has plans for all occasions. He sent photographs of some documents and said that he would now see how he would ignore him after this. And then SJ Group President Kim Ho-jong called Sang-ho. He asked if Lee Sang-ho was really ready to do such a thing, to threaten him. Sang-ho replied that he would get rid of the documents if he fulfilled one of his requests. Lee Sang-ho said that Kang Woo-jin chose the worst opponent he could. He is aware of the president's relations with the West and asked to be connected with them. A week later, it was departure day. Sun Gu laughed and Wu Jin asked the reason. Sun Gu was happy because he had a B rank. Wu Jin replied that the plan was to visit America only after Sun Gu became A-ranked. But Sun Gu said that this was already a huge achievement, and it was all thanks to the boss and his instructions. Sun Gu feels like he died and was reborn a couple of times in 1 week. Wu Jin told Sun Gu not to dare to clear 4-star dungeons alone, giving in to his emotions and giving him the marble ball of return. Wu Jin said that this is so that Sun Gu does not fall back, if anything happens. He needs to get out as soon as he senses danger. Sun Gu was incredibly happy and grateful, because Wu Jin purchased an item worth more than 10 billion just for him. He thought that the boss just had a way of communicating, but in fact he was a person with a very kind heart. But then Wu Jin said that Sun Gu had finally become a little needed, so there was no need for him to die at the first opportunity, because he wasted a lot of money on him. Wu Jin said that if Sun Gu dies, he will simply summon a skeleton from his corpse. Then someone called Min Chan and said something. He said into the phone that he would do everything right away. Wu Jin asked who it was. Min Chan replied that it was a call from the Ministry of Defense. They spotted a terrorist group and report that their target is Wu Jin. The hero was very surprised and asked why he surrendered to them. But Min Chan thought to himself that Wu Jin is the one who gets himself Jews' harps at every turn. Wu Jin asked about flying to America. Min Chan replied that until the ministry solved the problem, they could not board the plane. This is the situation, but the consortium is already tomorrow. Wu Jin began to think about what he should do, and then a certain man with bodyguards began to approach the heroes, saying that this happens even to Kang Wu Jin, whose word is equal in power to the entire country. The woman said that it seemed they were heading to the same place. If so, the man offered to go with him on his personal plane. Wu Jin asked Min Chan who his grandfather was. Min Chan was surprised that the hero didn't know. This man is the head of the guild recognized as the largest in all of Korea, the KH Group, and one of the dozen A-ranked in South Korea. His name is Baek Jong-do. Baek Jong-do asked the hero if he would go with him. Wu Jin replied that he would gladly accept his offer if he was not afraid of terrorists. Baek Jong-do replied that how some small terrorists could scare him away. He invited Wu Jin to become friends. Wu Jin asked what this old man was raving about. Baek Jong-do said, "It can't be that the hero doesn't know this famous series." He explained that this is a popular slang that is used in many modern TV series. Wu Jin said that he thought the man was challenging him to a duel or something. Baek Jong-do said that it was a long way to America, so they would watch a couple of TV series together. Min Chan said that he didn't think such a rich man would have such a hobby. Somehow, but Min Chan and Sun Gu found their way to America. 20 hours later, the heroes arrived. Wu Jin thanked Baek, since he only got there thanks to him. Baek replied that they were friends now, and friends always share with each other. Min Chan thought that it was certainly good that they had become closer, but he was ashamed of them. People around also did not understand what these Asians were doing. A few hours earlier, on Jong-do's private plane, the heroes were watching TV series and were having quite a lot of fun. Wu Jin was approached by a man, Richard Choi, his guide from the Titan Guild. He said that his goal was to deliver the hero safe and sound to the hotel. Chando said goodbye to the hero and offered him a drink after the hero had rested for a while. Wu Jin said it was a good idea. Min Chan asked Wu Jin in the car how he liked President Baek, since they seemed to get along great. Wu Jin said that he is a cheerful person, and they are almost the same age. Min Chan thought it was strange since Baek Jong-do was turning 42 this year. Wu Jin said that perhaps President Baek Jong-do's life as a third-generation chaebol is not much different from his. Bodyguard Jong-do also asked about Wu Jin. The man said that the hero is definitely not an ordinary guy. He didn't seem worried or surprised, even when he heard about the potential terrorists or when talking to him. The guard asked that maybe Wu Jin was just confident in his abilities. Chando said that also played a role. But there is a feeling that it was something more. Such confidence and calm cannot be due to youthful spirit alone. Baek Jong-do said that he became even more curious about what kind of person President Kang Wu Jin was. He seems to like it. Baek Jong-do said that what's more, he and Wu Jin have similar tastes in dramas. The heroes arrived at the hotel. The consortium will be held tomorrow at lunchtime, so the car will be waiting for them at 11. Hero said she was waiting for Min Chan after he took a shower. They will go drinking. Damn, Min Chan at least wanted to rest on a day like this. And Wu Jin goes to get drunk right after a 20-hour flight. Wu Jin took a shower, got ready, and thought it would be time to head out. The hero was thinking about what he would like to drink when he saw a red laser aimed at his room from the window. Suddenly, a bomb started flying straight to Wu Jin's room. Wu Jin was not afraid and jumped towards her, and there was a huge explosion. The people around were terrified. Wu Jin landed on the roof of one of the cars. His ghost armor skill used up all his available souls. Wu Jin began to wonder what kind of son of a bitch blew up an entire building just to eliminate him. He drank a healing potion. This is all strange. Wu Jin wouldn't act like a sweetheart unnecessarily, but he wouldn't be so cocky as to become an enemy of someone like them. Wu Jin told Bibi to follow the helicopter. The hero realized that the bastard with the laser had already disappeared. Even so, he sent the goblin after them at the very moment when the explosion occurred. So it was only a matter of time to find them. Wu Jin wanted to look the terrorists in the face. Meanwhile, Murdy was informed that the guild president Ardal had just arrived. The girl immediately said excitedly that the immortal had arrived. She asked if they had done anything to piss him off. The woman replied that there was no way. She heard that the Titan Guild took him straight to his hotel room. Murdy calmed down, and the woman thought about what kind of person it was that made Murdy worry so much. Wu Jin is a ruthless necromancer, and Murdy will see him tomorrow. She can't keep avoiding him. Murdy wondered what if she had angered him by not showing up to the meeting in person. He's definitely one of those people who thinks like that. Murdy asked where the gentleman's hotel was. The woman was surprised that the saint herself was calling some Korean master. Murdy said she had to meet him now. In that case, she will be accompanied by the Holy Knights of Aria. One of them, from the Order of Holy Knights, Officer General James Barnes, said that it was an honor for him to serve as a saint. 5 minutes ago, Min Chan was taking a shower and suddenly heard an explosion. People began to go out onto their balconies and panic. Min Chan immediately thought it had something to do with Wu Jin. Therefore, Min Chan began calling the hero and trying to enter his room. Wu Jin didn't answer the phone, and when the employee opened the room, they saw that everything there was destroyed. This is definitely the boss's doing. Meanwhile, Murdy and James were on their way to the hotel, but something didn't suit the saint. This was the first time James had seen her in person, but she usually looked different. She cured his daughter's terminal illness, and so he will protect Murdy no matter what. Suddenly, the driver braked sharply. James asked what it was. He was told that there was an explosion ahead. James looked out the window and saw smoke coming from the hotel. Murdy asked what happened. James responded that it looked like a terrorist attack, and they should turn around for her safety. Murley thought that maybe Ugin was furious. The saint said that they must find out what happened. James said no, they are going back to base. He will survey the area and report back to her later. Over the earpiece, he told his colleagues that they were going back to the church and told them to gather the guys to check everything. Wu Jin was hiding around the corner of one of the houses looking around. Looks like he's caught. They noticed him and are now wandering around in circles in the alleys. They are not stupid enough to go straight to the base. Then the hero decided to catch this one first, but the guy moved off abruptly and Wu Jin ran after him. Wu Jin could not catch up with him. Is he really not inferior to him in speed? Wu Jin uses the snatch skill and almost grabs the guy by the jacket. However, the guy somehow managed to escape. This guy turned out to be level 71. With this level, he could easily become the best in the world. Wu Jin wondered why him. Suddenly, the guy started calling to Wu Jin. This seriously provoked the hero. Already, after all, about 10 years have passed since someone openly provoked Wu Jin. Wu Jin followed him into the underground station. The guy stood around the corner and thought to himself that the hero had followed him to his own grave. This is his 100th hunt. This guy was born in Afghanistan, and when he was 10 years old, his father sold him to the rebels. Seeing how his dad was overjoyed after receiving a couple of bucks, the boy became a monster. And the endless war before his eyes forced him to kill enemies for the sake of survival. If necessary, he will slaughter an entire army. He killed and killed. His very existence is the result of his murders. And to become awakened, the guy continued his life as an assassin. The guy stood around the corner, ready, waiting for Wu Jin to approach. And then the guy attacked Wu Jin from behind with a knife. But the hero anticipated his attack and began to attack in response. Wu Jin grabbed the guy by the collar and told him that he was caught. Wu Jin and this guy continued to fight, and the hero deftly dodged the blows. The guy understood how Wu Jin knew where he would be, because after he became awakened, no one could predict him like that. Wu Jin said the guy is good. Most assassins wield 2 blades, so one-on-one combat is their thing. The guy thought about what kind of nonsense the hero was talking about and that he began to criticize him too early. Wu Jin said he wanted to see how long the guy could last. Wu Jin hit the guy hard, which he didn't even expect, but they told him that he was definitely a necromancer. Suddenly, Wu Jin disappeared. The guy thought that he might have gone underground. This time, he will definitely come and finish him off. The guy saw a huge number of bloody spots, but not a single corpse. And then the guy meets a whole army of skeleton soldiers led by Ugin. It turns out it was a trap. The skeletons were ready to attack. The guy thought the quantity didn't matter. And then the guy uses the Wrath of God skill. Ugin was surprised that he also had the Berserker skill. Apparently he has dual skills as a warrior assassin. The guy began to deftly kill skeletons and was aimed at killing Ugin. And then the guy cuts off Wujin's head. The guy was glad that his 100th hunt was completed successfully. But before he could finish speaking, Ugin appeared and now for real cut off the guy's head. It's almost impossible. Ugin said that if you arrange the skeletons correctly, they will definitely be useful. The sin of the one who points his blade at Ugin is the seal of the soul. Ugin received the soul sealing stone. He can seal the soul of a dead enemy. The next day, in the interview hall of the Titan Guild, Min-chan and Baekjongdo discussed what the hero had come up with this time. Baek said that he is confident that Wujin will return soon because he is the best awakened of Korea. Ugin is the one who can deflect missiles with his bare hands. Min-chan is worried that America won't think the hero attacked them. It's time to go to the consortium. The head of the Titan Guild thanked everyone who came to the consortium. He said that solving the problem of this consortium was beyond the power of any guild, so he asked them, awakened from all over the world, to help them. To begin with, they decided to discuss the available information about dungeons. The dungeons they know are spatial gates, the gate that connects two planets, Earth and Alphen. The monsters that come to Earth are not peculiar to it. On the contrary, they are the inhabitants of Alphen. The head said that it is also known that time passes 4 times slower in the dungeons due to the difference in the passage of time. One of the guys stood up and asked if the dungeons are gates. Does that mean they need to close them? This guy was from the Japanese guild Taken, which makes money by selling bloodstones. The head replied that no and such changes were too risky. He said there was a better solution, a preemptive strike. Murdy entered the hall and said that people from Earth should cross the bridge and be the first to exterminate the monsters. People started talking about this, saying that this is the girl about whom there are so many rumors. She introduced herself and said that she had come from Alphen to save the Earth. That same guy said that he had a hard time believing that she was a priestess or someone from Alphen, and that what he saw in front of him was nothing more than an awakened one. And then Murdy began to do something. She is able to buff hundreds of awakened ones at a time. The guy was shocked, and Murdy asked how he could believe it now. She, together with the Order of Paladins, will open the way for them to Alphen. Everyone must go there in order to save planet Earth. If they do not decide to do this, then only ruins will remain on Earth, just like on Alphen. This is a war to save both planets. All the awakened ones began to talk to each other. Merly continued that, moreover, once they save the Earth, they will be able to continue selling bloodstones. This is a great chance to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But someone objected, saying that they were already open. He asked if this is why Murdy came all the way to Earth. And this guy turned out to be an immortal Wujin. Murdy was very excited. Wujin looked different in appearance, but she was sure that it was him. Wujin came up to her and said that it was somehow awkward that Murdy was looking down at him. James told Wujin that he was an ill-mannered bastard and should mind his manners in front of the saint. And then Murdy began to say that before her was a king ruling over an immortal army, a godlike warrior who was sweeping away everything in his path. The monarch of Ardala, the humble servant of Arya, bows before the immortal. Wujin said they haven't seen each other for a long time. People were simply shocked by everything that was happening. Who was Wujin for Murdy to bow to him? The hero and Murdy began to speak the Alphen language. He asked if it turned out that this was the end of their mutual truce. Murdy replied that this was not so, and if she had known that it was Ardal, she would not have set foot there. Wujin asked why she came to Earth. Murdy replied that she received an order from the goddess to bring a savior from planet Earth. She is just a humble servant following orders. Ugin said that was enough, because he already understood that Merly was sent by Arya. Ugin told the Titan Guild Master that they needed to talk. The man said that he didn't think it would work out here and suggested moving to a more secluded place. The hero asked the operator if there was a live broadcast, to which he said no. Wujin said to turn on the live broadcast. Suddenly, a man approached. If we are talking about a hero who stopped a terrorist attack on a hotel, then they must show it to the whole world, no matter what the cost. The operator received permission to broadcast, but everyone was shocked by Wujin's words. He said that they would find and kill all the bastards who launched a missile at him, were intermediaries, and wrote something to him later. It looks like Wu Jin is declaring war on the terrorists. Suddenly, Min Chan ran in. He was relieved that the hero was okay, and thanked him for saving him from the explosion. Wu Jin said it didn't matter and said to follow him. He needs to talk to them about something. Min Chan asked that the hero seemed to say that the saint was his friend, but judging by what happened earlier, she is more like... Wu Jin asked what he meant, and confirmed that they were friends. Min Chang didn't understand what this all meant. Suddenly, Baek Jongdo appeared. He called out to the hero. He said he felt like he was now really interested in his little brother. His bodyguard asked what part of Wu Jin he was interested in, since he was definitely dangerous. The heroes entered the guildmaster's office and began to take their seats. Murdy told the chief that he must give up his place to the monarch of Ardal. Wu Jin said everything was fine and asked not to worry. The master said that the saint should also sit down. She asked in horror how she dared, and Ugin, in the language of Alphen, told her to sit down. The master said that it might sound rude, but he wants to know what the relationship is between Wu Jin and Murdy. The hero replied that they were just friends. Murdy was surprised by this wording. Friendship with an immortal? What a nightmare. The master began to ask the hero why Murdy arrived from Alphen. Wu Jin said that this is not an interrogation, and that the master will ask Murdy later. The hero said that there was something more important and took out the head of the Afghan guy who tried to kill him. Wu Jin said that it would be great of them if they found out about the identity of the owner of this head. Murdy was shocked that someone was trying to assassinate the monarch of Ardal. Has the earth chosen the path of self-destruction? Wu Jin said that he didn't suspect them, and asked them to just find the one whose orders this guy was following, because there weren't many AA rank assassins in the world. And then Murdy exclaimed that she would do everything. The master tried to object, saying that the U.S. Department of Defense would handle this itself. Murdy thanked the master for working with her, and asked if she should devote her life to carrying out his orders. She will do so and return to Alphen to save many lives. She only asked not to anger the immortal. The master calmed down and said that he understood everything. Then Ujin asked her what she was talking about before. She mentioned that she wanted to gather these kids and invade Alphen. The hero asked what would happen to the earth if she took with her all the awakened ones and sent them to a terrible death. What if all the dungeons on earth opened? Who will stop this? Is Murdy really going to die? Ujin asked if Murdy was declaring war on him. She fell to the floor and began nervously explaining that this was not so. Wu Jin told her to stop blaming herself and just sit down and tell her more. She started saying that there was a way to stop the dungeon from breaking through. First, the hero must learn about the spatial dimension and the fragment of space. At the same time, we find ourselves in an unidentified underground base. One of the men tells Professor Leola that it is time to move their bases immediately, since it looks like Assad has failed. The professor replied that they were at the last stage of their research, and they could not leave this place. In addition, initially it was promised that 2 days would be allocated. The man said that this could not continue, otherwise they risked exposing their base. The professor asked for another 3 hours, and then they will leave this place when he conducts the last test. Bibi was watching them all this time. Just to think that the place she ends up in while pursuing the killer would be a dubious research facility. It is not normal. And then Bibi saw that same fragment of space in the professor's hands. One of the laboratory workers said that the energy level of the bloodstone exceeded a critical level. Indicators, at least 5 stars. The professor said it was excellent. This experiment will prove to the world that he is the greatest dungeon explorer, not Toppler. The numbers continued to rise. Already reached the level of 6 stars. Bibi wondered what these mana fluctuations were. If this continues, it will not lead to any good. But the figures continued to grow at tremendous speed, and has already reached 7 stars. The professor was horrified. And suddenly there is a huge explosion. A gigantic beam of light quickly goes into the sky. Everything around seemed to have died out. And then, a certain man-monster appears. He says that this is the place where the vital energy of the earth is filled to the brim. Suddenly, Bibi ran up to him. He said it was someone with an energy that was all too familiar to him. Meanwhile, the heroes continued to talk. Murdy said that before she explained the method of stopping the dungeon from splitting, They should learn about spatial dimension and space fragment. In her understanding, the spatial dimension is some kind of special space in the upper dimension, but she is sure that they were already there. Wujin was surprised by this. Murdy replied that yes, these are other dimensions that appear behind the red portal that appears in the dungeons from levels 4 to 6. Ugin now understood what the spatial dimension was. As the heroes may have noticed, dungeons are like the entrance door to such places. Many dungeons are connected to one-dimensional areas, like the tentacles of an octopus. Ugina asked how this had anything to do with stopping monsters breaking out of the dungeons and asked why dungeon schisms were happening in the first place. Murdy said that from a Terran perspective, dungeon schisms are a process of synchronization. Monsters will not be able to show their full power if they do not have enough mana. Therefore, they split dungeons in order to spread the energy of the dungeon, the energy called mana. They turn dungeons into their habitat, literally terraforming the earth. Wujin asked if that meant they could stop the process. Even if they clear the dungeons, the bloodstones fill the earth with mana. Murdy said there is one way. Dungeons and spatial dimensions are under the control of the Lord of Dimensions. In other words, whether to send monsters or not is his will. Ugin asked if it might turn out that the descendants of the Lord of Dimensions are. Murdy replied that it was. Invader Tranit and his 72 commanders are representatives of the Lord. Besides them, there are also lords of a lower level. And at the moment they are expanding their power through a war in which everyone is trying to win their own territory. They were busy protecting the lands of Alphen. However, they do not have the strength to fight back. Therefore, her plan is to gain the title of Lord of Dimensions and confront them on equal terms. In order to restore all the dungeons on Earth and Alphen, Wujin said it sounded exciting. Ugin asked what happens if they take away all these lands from them. They will be left on the street with nothing. Murdy replied that it seemed so. The heroes said that they would conquer everything, and he would be able to see the guys of Tranit, who so skillfully hide their faces. Now Ugin asked to tell how to get these spatial stones. She replied that they would be able to acquire spatial territories and take personal control of empty lands. Only both planes require stones called space fragments. Ugin took out and showed one of these stones. Murdy asked him how he was able to get it. Wujin replied that he just picked it up somewhere and asked what to do with it. They need one piece to get a conquered dungeon, so they need 3 pieces because they don't have their own spatial dimensions. Murdy said that the dungeon should choose a hero. If he holds on to a fragment of space, he will point to the dungeon reacting to him. Wujin asked what kind of stinginess and thought about how to get 3 pieces. He told Murdy to just give him 2 more. She was shocked. Wujin said that judging by the way she was keeping silent, she had the rest and said to give them to him. After a short argument, the girl finally agreed. Ugin asked if she was sure that she only had this one, because Ugin had little trust in a priestess like her. She replied that this thing was very difficult to get, and for God's sake, the hero must return it back. Suddenly, the goblin returned. Wujin asked why he was already here if he said to follow Bibi for support. The goblin told the hero that they had lost the hallucination witch. The goblin said that this was done by one of Tranit's pawns, Rushmod. Wujin told everyone that he had to go. When asked where, he replied that it was to the guy who staged a terrorist attack on him. The guildmaster said that they had not yet formed a support squad, and that after collecting it they would definitely... But Murdy interrupted him, saying that Rushmod had appeared. She said it was too early for the Lord's representatives to appear, but still... Wujin told her to gather her previous squad and follow him. Now that the hero thought about this place, there is no station there. The heroes, together with a detachment of paladins, arrived at the scene. The master asked Murdy if everything would really be okay without a support squad, and asked how they could deal with splitting the dungeon with so many. She replied that it doesn't matter because if we talk about power, then this person, Ugin, is enough. She said to stay away until further notice. Entering the building, the hero saw a huge portal on the floor. Suddenly, Rushmod himself appeared. He was surprised that Bibi was indeed an immortal succubus. He asked if the place where Ugin fled from Alphen was really just some kind of earth. Wujin said that of course he understands that Rushmod is happy to see him, but why is he so annoying? The hero remembers that Rushmod died at his hands 5 times. Rushmod was furious at these words. He said that at least it was like that before Woojin was reborn. Rushmod said that if Woojin wants to save this little girl, then he should tell the guys outside to get away. He suggested equal sparring. Murdy told Woojin that she was sure that Rushmod knew about the difference in their overwhelming strength with the hero, and asked why, in that case, he provoked Woojin so much. The hero replied that since this happened, then Rushmod is aware that he does not yet have his former strength. Murdy was shocked that the hero's strength was not at Alphen's level. Woojin said he'll catch up with her quickly, but he doesn't own her yet. He lost his crushing power as a necromancer. Ugin cannot summon that Lich and Death Knights yet. Murdy shouted that this was dangerous, because if Ugin was going to fight Rushmod, then he must at least have Death Knights. But Ugin was calm as a boa constrictor. He said that he would finish with him, that Murdy wouldn't even have time to blink an eye, and he told him to just wait. When the hero returned to the building, something terrible happened. The portal seemed to begin to burst, releasing huge rays of light. This caused the dungeon to split, and a huge number of different monsters appeared in front of the heroes. They prepared for battle. The split does not stop. Apparently, Rushmod decided to set all the monsters on. It turns out that he is not going to supply the hero with corpses in the dungeon. And then Ugin began to call for Rocky. He said that he would save Bibi right away and let him deal with this small fry. And then a huge transforming monster appeared. Everyone was stunned by this power. Rocky began to deftly deal with the monsters, blowing them up from helicopters and tanks. Now Murdy was not sure that the immortal had lost his former strength. Ugin entered the research laboratory of the warlock Rushmod. He activated the attack mode. This was different from what Ugin had seen in normal dungeons. Rushmod said that Woojin is an idiot for actually following him. He asked what Ugin hoped for without his corpses when he entered here. The hero replied that at least he could cope with the likes of Rushmod. The monster said that Ugin was filled with arrogance. However, if they both go up against the same monster, then Rushmod will be in a much more advantageous situation, since he has changed his body thanks to research on the Chimera. Woojin asked how about Rushmod giving Bibi before their fight. He laughed at this, asking if Woojin really cares about such things. He said that why shouldn't Woojin stop worrying about such little things, because such things are only needed to control them. Succubus Bibi was killed. The level of the succubus has been lowered to 1. The hero will not be able to summon it for 32 days. Rushmod continued to mock Woojin, and the hero in turn replied that now his rage cannot be expressed only by the word anger. Rushmod said that this arrogant one is still the same, but today is the last day that Woojin can behave like this. But Ugin repelled Rushmod's first attack. The monster did not think that the hero would react so quickly, and thought that he drank some kind of physical buff potion. Meanwhile, Woojin hit Rushmod with all his might. The monster clearly didn't expect this. He didn't understand what kind of attack it was and where the necromancer got such power from. And then Rushmod realized that Ugin had become a warrior. The hero uses the warrior's rage skill. Fury will gradually increase his power until it reaches the limit. All physical stats have been increased by 10. Woojin went on the attack. Rushmod was surprised that it changed from a sword to a spear. The hero hit the monster with a hammer, causing it to fall to the ground with great force. Ugin finished off the monster, cutting it in half. Ugin said that this was boring, and asked why Rushmod went into battle with a warrior with such changes in his body. Woojin was about to leave when suddenly Rushmod began to move. He began to get up, saying that not only had the immortal defected to Earth, but he had also exchanged the necromancer class for the pitiful skills of a warrior. Ugina asked, "What's wrong with warrior skills, since it's so fashionable to have fun?" Rushmod's body recovered despite being cut in half. Apparently, he implanted something into his body again. Rushmod summoned the monsters and said that he would make Ugin regret this choice. He unleashed a huge number of monsters on Ugin. Meanwhile, Rocky continued to smash monsters on the street. The master said that this is terrifying power, and with it, this golem alone can cope with everyone. Murdy replied that he had his own mana limit, and had no idea where all these monsters would go if the golem stopped. We need everyone to remain in their positions and be ready to fight. She's more concerned about the immortal. She thinks about how Woojin is going to deal with Rushmod alone without his subordinate soldiers. Rushmod told the hero to look at himself because he had reached such a state, although he only fought 1 chimera. He asked if Ujin now realized the price he would pay for that bloody sword in exchange for the throne of domination. Wujin asked about who said that he chose him instead. And then he began the call. A huge number of skeleton soldiers appeared in front of Rashmad. Ugin put all his mana into Rocky, so it took a little time before the cooldown. Rashmod was shocked. Because Ujin is a warrior. The hero said that it was so, but he didn't say that he was not a necromancer. Rashmod was furious and asked how Wujin dared to deceive him. Now the second round will begin. Wujin attacked Rashmod. It looks like he's not as good as he used to be. The monster said that the current connection cannot be stopped, but Ugin himself has lost his strength. Due to wasted energy in his current state, Wujin cannot be defeated. Looks like it's time. The hero increased his level and all characteristics were restored, all thanks to Rocky and the accumulated experience. Ugin said that Rashmod was tired and suggested that he take a little rest, hitting him on the head with a hammer. And Ugin cut off Rashmod's head in one easy movement. The monster told the hero to rejoice while he can, because the connection has already been lost. He advised him to run away if he wanted to live. But Wujin proudly declared that he was not going to run away. Wujin praised Rocky and apologized to him. Even if the summoned one dies, he will not disappear. However, before his resurrection, he will unconsciously wander in the endless void. Wujin told Rocky to go back and take care of Bibi. The hero told Murdy that Rashmod appeared outside the subway station and she should know the reason. The saint replied that the earth had not yet fully synchronized. In reality, dungeons cannot spawn anywhere. The same thing should have happened to him. But this is no ordinary dungeon. This place is a summoning circle. Wujin asked what it was. Merly explained that someone from Earth had used a fragment of space. It looks like he was trying to summon a dungeon, but it resulted in Rashmod appearing. Wujin began to think about who this idiot was, because why the hell did you need to summon a dungeon if you weren't able to handle it yourself? Ugin said that he would not allow Tranit to appear on Earth like this, and he hoped for Murdy's assistance. He will make every effort to save Alphen if he can obtain the spatial dimension. Will the immortal really save Alphen? Murdy knew that the man from the prophecy was an immortal. She bowed before the hero, saying that she would do everything in her power to help him. After his unsuccessful fight with Rashmod, Ugin concentrated on leveling up in 6-star dungeons as a favor for the Titan Guild. Afterwards, the Ardal and Titan Guilds established a strong alliance in the form of an alliance. They considered the details of Earth's defense and the expedition to Alphen. The conclusions drawn from the consortium, the army of Tranit, and the position of Alphen, as well as the whole truth about the structure of the dungeons, led the whole world into confusion. The land was put at risk by the mining and use of bloodstones, but they also served as weapons against danger. The world was divided into two sides, which entered into heated disputes among themselves. On the sides between those who believed that it is time to stop with dungeons, and between those who wanted to strengthen the defense for the light of an active trip to the dungeons. Given all these circumstances, the world needed a unified defense system. It was decided to convene a team to lead the global organization of Awakened Ones. A month has passed, and it is time to return. Guildmaster Titan thanked the hero for his excellent work. Wujin said that this was nothing, because he managed to clear the dungeons comfortably. Wujin also said that Murdy should now feel much better about not having to see him anymore. The girl was simply silent. She tried to say that it was not so, but it was written all over her face. Ugin said that they would meet on Alphen. Murdy prayed to the goddess, saying that the day when she would return to Alphen was already close. But suddenly the goddess began to talk to Murdy. This was the revelation of the goddess. She said to follow him. Murdy begged him not to. The goddess said to stay on Kang Wujin's side. Murdy asked why she was suffering all this and burst into tears. Wujin was already in Korea and was traveling with Min Chan. Suddenly, the hero said to drop him off. Min Chan was surprised. Wujin said to stop here, then he will take a taxi. But Min Chang asked about what to do about dinner with the president. Wujin replied that he was full. Does he really think the president just called him to eat? Wujin said that Min Chan could go instead. Min Chang objected, saying that the hero should be there and he should also elect a CEO. Wujin told Min Chan to prepare new business cards since he is the vice president from now on. He also told him to go there instead. Wujin said that he needed to go home because he was tired and wished him a pleasant dinner. Min Chan was confused that Wujin was going to leave him like that. The man thought about how he could deal with all this. Since this was a meeting with the president himself, why did he suddenly become vice president in the first place? But suddenly despair grew into hysterical laughter. Min Chang was clearly proud that he was now vice president. Wu Jin was talking to his mom on the phone. They discussed everyday things. The taxi driver arrived and said that the hero would pay 25,000 won. Wu Jin started looking for his wallet, but he only now remembered that his luggage was left with Min Chan. Wu Jin told the taxi driver to go to Sedan Station. Looks like it's time to meet that guy he hasn't seen for a long time. Jae-min was minding his own business when suddenly Wu Jin called. The hero asked if the guy was at home. Wu Jin said he was at Jae-min's house. He asked him to go outside with 50,000 won because he couldn't pay for a taxi. Jae-min realized that this guy hasn't changed a bit. Ji-won asked Jae-min where he was going since he seemed to be taking his last test. Jae-min has national exams tomorrow and he might catch a cold. Jae-min replied that he would be in a moment. He needed to lend Wu Jin money for a taxi. Ji-won became excited when she heard his name. Wu Jin called her to the cafe. She brought him the money herself, and he apologized for the trouble. Ji-won replied that everything was fine, and she had not seen him for a long time. Ji-won revealed that she quit her job at the factory. Wu Jin asked if she wanted to become a celebrity. He had already seen an article about it. It said that she was Kang Wu Jin's beautiful girlfriend. Ji-won said to stop bullying. Ji-won wanted to discuss something else. She recently started writing her own novella. She always dreamed of becoming a writer, but now she is serious. She decided to show Wu Jin her novel. It said that a summoning circle suddenly appeared under the feet of a Korean high school student. Through him, the main character entered another world. He went through all the difficulties and became an expert. And finally, he was able to find a way to return back to Earth. However, when he returned there, she was no longer the same. Humanity has submitted to monsters. Wu Jin asked if it was written about him. Ji-won replied that she was just thinking about him when she wrote all this. Wu Jin said it was quite an interesting piece. He started reading the comments. There were a lot of good reviews there. Ji-won took the phone away. She said that she wanted to thank the hero, because if it weren't for him, she would not have been able to walk among people like this. She wouldn't even be able to do what she dreamed of. Wu Jin said that Ji-won was strong enough to get through it all, and he only helped a little. He added that the girl is brave enough to be worthy of such a life. She thanked him sincerely. Wu Jin returned to the office and saw a large number of employees there. It looks like the guild is quite lively now. Seung-hoon was glad that the boss returned safely. The hero asked if Sun-gu and Ha-min were here. Seung-hoon replied that they were distributing the rewards and should be here soon. Hae-so approached the hero. Wu Jin asked when she arrived. She said that she was no longer a first lieutenant. She transferred to the reserve unit and started work yesterday. Wu Jin replied that it looks like there is still time before Hae-so stops wearing the uniform. Wu Jin said that they will talk about it when Min Chan returns, and now he wants to conduct a short interview. Hae-so and Wu Jin walked into the office and sat down. The hero saw that Hae-so was level 14, class tamer. Wu Jin noticed the F rank in Tamer class and said that it seems that it's quite difficult to develop. Hae-so was shocked that the hero saw this. When the hero analyzed Hae-so for the last time in North Korea, she was level 11. This may have been due to strengthened synchronization. Also, she doesn't seem to have any special skills. Judging by the fact that she has increased 3 levels in such a short period, then she has good potential. Due to the military's use of modern weapons, she had no opportunity to improve her awakening skills. Ugin handed her the stones and told her to eat them and then absorb the mana. Hae-so was surprised that Wu Jin was giving her these enhancement stones because they are insanely expensive. Wu Jin replied that in her current state, he would not be able to help her, and she should accept them. He told her to eat them first. Hae-so said she can handle it. She started eating them, and her stamina, magical power, and strength increased. Wu Jin said that she was doing well with her medication. Now the skill. The hero thought what to choose. Hae-so's starting skills are acceptable, and since she is a military person, she is good at clearing out the battlefield. He found it. Telepathy. She can communicate with others using an electroencephalogram. She can command through telepathy even in the midst of battle. Wu Jin gave the book to Hae-so. He said that she needed to perfect this skill because it was very important. He gave her another stack of books and told her to let it all bounce off her teeth. Hae-so was horrified by the number. Suddenly, Sun Gu literally ran into the office and asked if Wu Jin was serious. The hero did not understand what was going on. Wu Jin didn't expect Sun Gu to greet him like this after he returned from the States. Sun Gu has grown up a lot. Sun Gu turned on the TV. Min Chang was there, and it was said that they were here to announce that South Korea had signed a defense treaty with the Ardal Guild. Wu Jin didn't understand that Min Chan was doing this after he ate. The hero asked about the people in front. Ha Min replied that he was the head of the Ministry of Defense and the main leader of the army. Judging by the announced agreement, their guild will have the same support from the state as theirs. It's not solo cool since their guild is now in charge of national defense. They are now a kind of state army. Wu Jin was angry. Song Gu said that, in simple terms, most of their time would now be spent in the army. Bastard! Wu Jin only told him to eat, and what did this all lead to now? Wu Jin told Ha Min to tell Min Chan not to go anywhere when he returns. Wu Jin started to get ready. When asked where he was going, he replied that he was going to a rookie training camp. He is going to the dungeon, and told Sun Gu and Hai Seo to follow him. Sun Gu was surprised that Hai So was awakened all this time. She replied that yes, she has mana and skills. Meanwhile, Min Chan was preparing to go back. The driver asked if he could be taken home, to which Min Chan said to take him to the office. The driver said that soon Min Chan will have to move his office, because now their guild protects the entire country, and they will need a bigger place. Presidential Committee member Park Jun-po said they will begin working together immediately after they choose a location. Min Chan replied that they had not signed the contract yet, and the boss's opinion matters. Jun-po replied that the terms of the contract were excellent, and he didn't think Wu Jin would refuse. Min Chan called Wu Jin, but Ha Min answered the phone. Ha Min said that the president went to the dungeon with Director Hong and Hai Seo. Ha Min asked the director what the hell happened. Min Chang said that he is now not a director, but a vice president. Ha Min asked about how it happened that they were protecting Korea. Min Chan doesn't understand how he knows this. Ha Min replied that it was all over the news. Min Chan was shocked. He asked Jun-po about the conference, whether it was a live broadcast. The man replied that in no case, and even if there was, he is sure that it was an accident. It's nonsense that everything went on air by accident. Min Chan said he would stop by the office. Ha Min warned him that Wu Jin was not in a good mood. Slippery scum. Why was there such a rush to tell this news? The president suggested one thing at the dinner. He wanted to upgrade the Ardal Guild into an organization called the Korea Defense Guild. The Ardal Guild is a stumbling block to keep the strongest awakened in Korea, Kang Wu Jin. And after dinner, negotiations were held. They promised to support them if Min Chang could persuade the president. Min Chan can't believe they went public with the private press conference before they even got the agreement. Did they really decide to show this to the public to gain his approval? But this is impossible, because a person like him, who finds out about what is happening, will turn this blue house to hell, and without blinking an eye. Min Chan must prevent this if he wants to stay in Korea. He will definitely find a way out. The heroes were inside the 6-star dungeon at Exit 9 of Gangnam Station. Hai So said that she is still F rank, and if they were in the wrong dungeon. Usually people like her start with a 1-star dungeon. Sun Gu glued the fool together. Hey. So didn't understand what this meant. It didn't make any sense. Sun Gu said that he thinks Hai Seo will die, but they will help her. For some reason, this did not give her confidence. The girl asked what about the president. Sun Gu replied that he had left a long time ago. Hai So thought they came for training. Sun Gu said that it had already begun and gave her a dagger. He asked her if she had ever gutted raw fish. Hai So took out stones from the corpses of monsters. She didn't understand where she was and why she was here. She noticed that Sun Gu was fast and didn't understand how he did it so quickly. Sun Gu did everything and told Hai Seo to be faster. At this rate, they will meet Wu Jin before they even get below. Hai So has already started mining bloodstones faster, but she still can't keep up with him. She didn't understand how the hell the president hunted. Suddenly they saw a huge number of pairs of red eyes in the distance. It looks like these are monsters and there are more than one of them. Sun Gu said that it looks like the president is already returning. These turned out to be Wu Jin's skeletons. He asked them if they had finished yet. Sun Gu replied that he would hurry and gather the rest. Wu Jin replied that that was enough and said to follow them. They go into the portal. Hai So realized that Wu Jin was not hunting alone. He called more than 100 of them, so this is how the president clears the dungeons so quickly. The heroes entered the portal. It wasn't easy for Hai Seo. Sungu said that she probably felt a little uneasy about going through the portal. It depends on the person, but Haeseo will quickly get used to it. They decided to go. Woojin was already ahead. Haeseo asked why Sungu's clothes were still the same. He replied that it was because it was made from materials obtained from the underground. The support department will then pay for them. They saw Ugin in front of the bone wall. They asked him if he had not gone first. The hero said they were on time. He called Haeseo over and told him to try to tame him. The girl saw in horror that it was a level 57 saber-toothed tiger. The tiger began to roar. Haeseo asked if she really should do this, because she feels like she will be torn to pieces if she gets close. Woojin asked if she really thought that and said that no one told her to fight. He asked to tame him. Woojin told Sungu to make sure he doesn't mess around. Sungu climbed inside the bone wall towards the tiger. The tiger began to bark. Sungu rhetorically asked why he shouted if he didn't even touch him. The tiger tried to attack Sungu, but the guy used an steel fist strike. This threw the tiger back with great force. Haeseo heard that he was B-ranked, but she was surprised that Director Hong was so strong since he looks frail on his own. Sungu told Haeseo that she could come over. She began to try to tame him, but the tiger began to bare his teeth. Haeseo told Woojin that she thinks that even if she tries, she still won't succeed. Moreover, she will not have enough mana. Suddenly, her mana was restored. She didn't understand how Woojin did it. The hero said not to rush, because this is natural, because they have a significant difference in levels. Woojin told her that she has two methods of taming. Be close to him, like friends, or beat him up and make him your subordinate. Haeseo asked what she should do, beat her or what, although the tiger had already been beaten. Woojin replied that no, because the one who beat him was not her, but Sungu. Haeseo has to get close to the one who was beaten. Woojin asked what she would do. Sungu began to pretend to attack Haeseo. She must protect the saber-toothed tiger from the villain, save him and become his friend. The girl did not understand what was going on and how she could breed the tiger with the help of this clownery. Sungu started to pretend to hit Haeseo, but it turned out that Sungu swung too hard and she broke her arm. Haeseo told Sungu about this, but he continued to play the role, saying that she was weak. Woojin told Haeseo to quickly pretend that she was attacking Sungu and then tame the tiger. She swung at Sungu and he flew towards the wall. Her blow was quite strong. It worked, and the tiger himself approached Haeseo and was very kind. Woojin said that this is great, and Haeseo now has a protector. Sungu asked the guys how they liked his work. Woojin replied that Sungu is an Oscar candidate. Haeseo told him that he looked very scary, and she didn't know that he was an awakened one with physical abilities. Sungu said that he is a magician. It was already dark and the heroes were sitting by the fire. Woojin asked Sungu what kind of face he made just now. Sungu shared that he believed everything Woojin said all along. Maybe he became stronger because he received his support, but Sungu didn't understand why he could only swing his fists if he was a fire mage. It was strange. He dreamed of becoming a fire wizard from the very beginning. Woojin said that the guy is their director. He asked Sungu how it felt to be him. The guy replied that he was doing small errands. This means that he is an errand boy who is well paid. Woojin replied that this was not the case, and asked Sungu what he thought was the purpose of these small assignments. When the hero needs someone to do his job for him while he's away, he turns to Sungu. This means that Sungu is the head of their guild number 2. This means that someday Sungu will definitely become stronger. Advanced fire magic has high requirements, which Sungu does not possess, but now he can learn it. Woojin congratulated Sungu for becoming A rank. Now he has finally become fireman. Sungu was incredibly happy. He can't believe he complained despite Woojin's good intentions. He told himself that he would follow him for the rest of his life. Meanwhile, Min-chan was in the office thinking about what he should do and how to convince Woojin without going against his will. Suddenly, an angry Woojin came into the office. He told Min-chan to listen carefully. Woojin asked him what the news was. Min-chan began to make excuses, saying that it was all fake and the recording should have been published to the masses only after Woojin made the final decision. But there was a glitch in the media. Woojin said that they are just making it look like a glitch. Min-chan said that they offered a good deal. He means the conditions they provided were not bad. The government will do anything to prevent Woojin from moving abroad. In truth, some countries are putting pressure on the Korean government. Wu Jin replied that the problem was not the conditions, and asked if Min Chan had forgotten the real reason why he created the guild. And this reason is to avoid conscription into the army. He could have joined the Hammer Guild if he wanted to avoid the army, and then why should he bother creating a guild? And Min Chan realized that the problem was not with the state, but with the fact that Wu Jin, in principle, did not want to work for anyone. Wu Jin said that nothing can be done, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The return will not be long in coming, the hero said to call reporters from the street. Wu Jin was on camera. He did not like the prepared statement apologizing for the false information about accepting the agreement with the Defense Guild. He decided to do things his own way. Wu Jin said that we'll leave the questions for later. And now, as the president of the Ardal Guild, he will tell everyone about everything from the very beginning. The agreement that the state showed on the news hasn't even been signed yet, and Wu Jin is terribly uncomfortable with this act on their part. Reporters began whispering that the Blue House had lied. This is exclusive. Wu Jin continued to say that there was no contact as such in the first place, so let everyone forget about everything that was said earlier. Wu Jin added that if they dared to contact him, he would immediately leave the country and let it be handed over to them, that's all. The hero turned around and began to leave, and the reporters were eager to ask him questions. Wu Jin told Min Chan to finish what he started. A struggle with public opinion is coming. But there is nothing to fear, even if the opponent is the Korean government itself. Min Chan thought that thank God Wu Jin didn't decide to go to the Blue House. After the press conference of the Ardal Guild, the media and the whole world went crazy. And yet, the agreement in question was not signed. All of this was published in advance by order of the state and was rejected by the Ardal Guild in just a few hours. This news caused a great stir among the public. At the same time, the Ardal Guild was preparing for the approaching disaster. To expand their reach, they hired new awakened ones. Min Chang spoke to someone on the phone and said that the president's decision was final and there was no reason to reconsider. The calls haunt him when he is already up to his neck in business. Min Chang asked Ha Min how many applications to join from awakened people they had received. Ha Min replied that today, 1,200. That's quite a lot. But the problem is that many of them are F rank. This is understandable. Usually high-ranking awakened ones are already in guilds, and if not, it's because they want freedom of action. Ha Min said that even so they will be useful considering that the president can help them. Director Hong and Ha Seo were also originally F-ranked. He's right here. It's amazing. If the awakened ones can grow enough, then the scale of the guild will be able to compete with the three main ones. Wu Jin has already reached level 70. He will finally be able to use this skill. It was because of him that in the past he was able to control an army of thousands. Ugin deactivated the Summon Death Knight skill. He can feel it, all 52 Death Knights in the summoning room. He also has a new recruit. Ujin told Al-Assad to come. It opened his soul. Assad remembered everything that happened, and he again wanted to kill Ujin and survive. Suddenly Wu Jin told him to stop and the guy couldn't move. He was shocked by what Wu Jin did. Wu Jin said to kneel. He told Assad to simply surrender. He will leave him if the guy swears to serve him. Assad told Wu Jin not to talk nonsense. Wu Jin said that it seems that the guy has not yet fully woken up and is not aware of the whole situation. He asked the guy what he would prefer, submission or having his soul erased. Assad saw his dagger. He is sure that it was then that he killed Ujin. Then Assad said that he obeyed. Ujin replied that this was the right choice. Assad looked like a Middle Eastern assassin, but the required control level was 312. Ugin said that was arrogance. Wu Jin called him over. Just look at this beast. Wu Jin said that this is only for now. Let them accept the new recruit. Ugin summoned Kiba, who demanded Assad bow before the Lord. The level of control required drops, which means the recruit is receiving proper training. Now that Ugin can summon Death Knights, hunting will become much easier for him. Death Knights are creatures capable of independently ruling an empire. Skeletons are free to fight under their command, even when he is away from them. Also, skeletons can turn into a summoning room with Death Knights, and Ugin doesn't even have to hunt himself when he's in the dungeon. Thus, his preparation of a one-man army is over. Bibi appeared and said that the summoning room was too noisy. Wu Jin asked about her condition and if she was okay. Her soul was depressed after her resurrection. Thank God her old energy has returned. Sun Gu approached Wu Jin using his fire magic. Wu Jin said that he can see that the guy has already mastered the flame skills. Bibi said that she had not seen Sun Gu for a long time, and he had become very strong. The guy asked what kind of child this was. Wu Jin was surprised that they hadn't met before. Sun Gu realized that the cat that Wu Jin picked up was Bibi, so Sun Gu remembered. Song Gu said that they had obtained all the bloodstones. Wu Jin was surprised that already. Sun Gu said that yes, and it so happened that he found a couple of brats who helped him. Sun Gu said that he would introduce them when he returned. Suddenly, Sun Gu heard someone and thought they were monsters. He was already ready to attack. Wu Jin stopped him. These were sharp-beaked crows which Heiso seemed to be able to tame on her own. And then Heiso appeared on a previously tamed tiger. She was now level 31. Wu Jin said that she is growing fast and it is wonderful. The heroes returned and rode in the car. Sun Gu said that he can't believe that Heiso is already D rank after only 3 dungeons. Heiso has an excellent growth rate. Wu Jin replied that she was indeed growing quickly, and it would be ideal if she could tame even more. Sun Gu said that there are already 20 of them, and it looks like the collection of bloodstones will go even faster. Wu Jin told Sun Gu not to let himself be blinded by such small achievements, because he and Haseo still have to grow and grow. Wu Jin has one more thing he needs to decide: get rid of the forces that ordered Assad to kill him. Wu Jin told Seonghwan to connect him with the Titan Guild. The guild president answered and asked Wu Jin what was the matter. The hero asked if the president remembered the guy he showed him in America. The president realized that he was talking about al-Assad. They didn't track him, but the guy was a pretty famous killer. Also, he has no connections with anyone. He is an independent mercenary and has many orders, most of which were carried out in Afghanistan. They are trying to find who is behind this. Wu Jin said that he seems to know. The guild master couldn't believe it. Wu Jin knows everything. All he had to do was ask Assad, and he was able to track all of his organizations and all of his clients. Wu Jin said that the Titan Guild wants to catch those behind the terrorist attack against him. Whoever they are, how dare they try to kill him? It's time to take revenge. Meanwhile, the news was all about Kang Wu Jin, who raised the whole world's ears. Lee Sang-ho was terribly infuriated that they said about Wu Jin that he is the best in his business. The contract killing of Kang Wu Jin, which cost Sang-ho tens of billions of dollars, was unsuccessful. Quite a long time has passed since his last contact with the terror group. In addition, the chairman of SJ Group cut off all ties with Lee Sang-ho, and the status of the guild that Lee Yoon-hee lost began to rapidly decline. Lee Sang-ho was desperate and blamed Wu Jin for everything. Suddenly, Sang-ho heard a voice that asked him if he wanted to take revenge. The man did not understand who it was. The voice asked the man if he wanted to take revenge on the man who killed Lee Yoon-hee. A certain creature said that Lee Sang-ho could take revenge on him, and it would lend him its power. It said that if Lee Sang-ho wants revenge, then he should go to the place where his younger sister died. Lee Sang-ho was horrified and asked the creature to show itself. It said it would be waiting for him. Lee Sang-ho asked him to stop, but the creature suddenly disappeared. What just happened? Maybe it was a ghost. And suddenly the man saw Lee Yoon-hee's sword on the table. It's creepy because he definitely stayed in that dungeon. Lee Sang-ho gathered his thoughts and decided to accept the creature's offer and gain the power to take revenge. Guildmaster Titan pondered the situation. The Ardal Guild only asked Titan for 2 things. For starters, transportation to Central Asia, as well as stabilization of the territory that will remain after the reprisal against the terrorists. Their guild provided transportation, and the U.S. military has already settled in that territory and is conducting a special operation. The key point is a joint operation with the Ardal Guild. As they investigate the opponents, the only thing they can do is follow Mr. Kang Wu Jin's instructions. If they fail, they will face public criticism from both the U.S. government and the Titan Guild. But if you look at it from the outside, it sounds absurd that the Korea Guild is cracking down on terrorism in his homeland. Based on the current situation, should Titan's president accept their offer and take risks? The master was informed that the saint had come to meet him. She said that she wants to leave the Titan Guild and follow Kang Wu Jin. The master was surprised by this. Murdy said that based on the situation, she had no choice, because it was the prophecy of the goddess. The master is confused. Her skills in blessing and divination brought great benefits to their guild. She created and allied with the Holy Knights to free Alphen. Therefore, leaving them now without her, their guild would suffer greatly, and it would be difficult to prevent future disasters. Murdy thanked the Ardell Guild for the attention she received, but she cannot go against the prophecy and will leave everything she received and leave the guild. The master said that he could not stop her, but would ask her to lead the Holy Knights. They were gathered under the order of Arya. They will become a support if they are on her side. The master also said that their guild owes a huge debt to her and the goddess, so they will continue to support the order of Arya. Murdy was delighted and thanked Mr. Kuhn. She said that the goddess wishes him happiness. This is the best alternative. He must maintain contact with the saint no matter the cost. Li Sang-ho wandered the streets with thoughts of power and revenge. He needs power to take revenge on Wu Jin. Li Sang-ho came across a monument to Kang Wu Jin on the street, the hero who prevented the disaster. A man was passing by, and he saw Li Sang-ho destroying the monument to Wu Jin. The man tried to stop Sang-ho, but in response, Li Sang-ho lifted him into the air and asked if the man recognized him. The man realized that in front of him was the guild master of Hwarang. He was confused. Another man walked behind the first. He saw what was happening and asked Li Sang-ho what he was doing. The man tried to call for backup, but Li Sang-ho broke his phone in his hands. Li Sang-ho lifted the men into the sky and mocked them. Sharply, Sang-ho knocked them to the ground. He said they were just non-entities. Li Sang-ho walked further and ended up in a dungeon. He didn't understand how it happened. Did he really kill someone? Damn, it's too late to look back. First you need to deal with the dungeon and then get out of here. He wondered if he could do it alone. That voice said that it would be a mere trifle for him if Li Sang-ho accepted his offer. A voice told Li Sang-ho to go through the portal. It said it would give him what he longed for most. Sang-ho found himself in a snowy area and was near the ice palace. Looks like that guy is there. What nonsense. All the monsters he encountered along the way didn't even attack him. The one who called him must be the master of the dungeon. Li Sang-ho entered the temple. He saw a certain monster sitting on a throne. It was glad that the hero had actually come. The one who needed it is the king of this place. Li Sang-ho bowed before him. The monster said that the man caught on quickly and liked it. There was a monstrous flow of energy from him. If Li Sang-ho said something wrong, he would die at that very moment. The monster welcomed Sang-ho to his dimension. The day came to leave for Afghanistan. Wu Jin was wished a pleasant and safe flight to Bahrain. The hero thanked him and said that not a single reception from other guilds could compare with the reception from the Titan Guild. Murdy was also on the plane. Wu Jin didn't understand what she forgot here. Murdy heard dirty things coming from the summoning room. Too loud. The Death Knights went wild. Wu Jin asked why that grandmother needed it. Does she really think that this holy woman can use him as a necromancer partner? Murdy replied that the prophecies of the goddess are unquestionable. Wu Jin told her to forget, and since that grandmother told her so, then so be it. However, Wu Jin told Murdy not to approach him. If he noticed even a spark of holy energy without needing it, then there was a high chance that the Death Knights would quickly deal with it. He's not saying this to scare her, no. Wu Jin means this literally. His head wouldn't even have time to blink, so he told Murdy to be careful. 2 days later, Wu Jin's team arrived in Afghanistan at the Bahram military base. At the operational headquarters, they discussed a certain Narsur Salchai. Based on Mr. Khan's testimony and other evidence, he was indeed a businessman in the past. Both the rebels and the government are involved in arms sales, so you need to be on your guard. Besides this, there are a couple of illegal transactions. The military thinks that in this area they have a major negotiation point from which instructions are issued. Wu Jin asked if it turns out that if they find out what these guys are doing, they will be able to understand from whom the contract killing came. He also asked about where they should go to be closer to them. He was told to moderate his ardor. They will be in a bad situation if the suspect escapes with key evidence or gets rid of it altogether. Commander David Morgan, stationed in Afghanistan, said they would share details only after they had discussed everything to begin with. Wu Jin said that he could watch them without letting them notice them. If the military can lure the object even into Wu Jin's line of sight, then he will be able to find out about not everything, including his movements, habits, his type of activity, and his subordinates. He will be able to find out even about his latest transactions and will find out about everything. David Morgan was shocked that Wu Jin was able to find out about the target's confidential information. He said it sounded great, and they decided to start discussing the mission. 2 days later, the hero was in Pakistan, Peshawar. He was riding in a car with senior U.S. intelligence officer Rachel Park. She was nervous because it was her first time here. Woojin told her to relax and just think that she was on vacation. He invited her to look at the beautiful view, but it was not beautiful at all. Rachel said that the area had recently been bombed. This seems to happen here often. She added that although such things usually cause chaos, here it is a common occurrence. It's a strange feeling, returning to the battlefield. It makes Ugin remember those days on Alphen. Rachel was surprised that the hero found time to think about something else, probably because of his confidence in his strength. They arrived at their destination. Rachel told the hero to avoid actions that would attract attention from others. They entered the restaurant and sat down at one of the tables. They saw the man in the blue shirt at the second table behind them. Rachel told Woojin that while there was time, he should install his tracking device on him. But the hero, it turns out, has already done it. Woojin told the girl to follow him when she finished. He will be waiting outside. The Shadow Stalker skill was summoned. It said that it had not felt this feeling for a long time. Woojin went outside. Looking around, he said that this place would be better than Alphen. Suddenly, local children approached Woojin, saying something in Arabic and extending their hands. Woojin realized that they were begging for money. He began to give money to the children when he saw a girl standing alone at a pole. Woojin thought it was interesting to see such a bright girl in such a place. A rare chance to see a child with a shining soul. Woojin called her over. She began to extend her hands to the hero. He started taking out bills and said that at this rate all the children in the area would gather around him. But Woojin noticed something was wrong. He noticed explosives under the girl's dress, and suddenly there was a terrible explosion. Ugin survived by using the phantom armor. Woojin really lost his grip, and not much has passed since he returned to Earth. Rachel ran up to Woojin and started asking if he was okay. Woojin asked about where they went after he left. Rachel said no, and 7 other explosions just happened at the same time. It turns out that 7 more children died. If we judge this way, then there is a high probability that there will be even more victims. Woojin said that it's okay because they won't have to wait long. To use such an ignorant child as a suicide bomber, Woojin had not felt so much rage for a long time. He will find every terrorist and finish him off without batting an eyelid. A week has passed since the terrorist attack. Woojin and the other men were being taken somewhere with their hands tied. One of the guys asked the gentleman to save him. Well, the noise from this guy. A week earlier in the commander's office, David Morgan had said that he would not allow a targeted attack on the enemy camp. Woojin said that he doesn't have to participate, and that he alone is enough. The awakened Colonel Roger came into the office and said that it would be difficult to distinguish ordinary civilians from the rebels. He asked if the hero planned to eliminate everyone who caught his eye. It seemed to Roger that Ugin had a strong desire to become the most dangerous and brutal terrorist among the locals. He added that if the hero plans to mindlessly invade their territory, then the rebel leader will most likely simply disappear. Morgan said his words made sense. He understands the hero's rage over the situation. However, Woojin must understand that this problem is not one that he can solve on his own. Morgan asked how about giving them some time and, in addition, their superiors decided to send reinforcements to the zone. Before the commander could finish speaking, Woojin stood up and said that it seemed like they had nothing more to talk about. Roger caught up with Woojin. The hero asked if the guy really wanted to die by his hand and asked why he pestered him. Roger replied that he didn't say he couldn't help. On the contrary, he has a solution to how they can accomplish this mission. Instead of going head-on, Roger suggests they start by killing the rebel commander. Woojin became interested. Roman Baker. He is in the business of selling weapons on the black market. With the cooperation of the government and the rebels, he is the only one who can stop them from gaining the upper hand over the latter. The rebels plan to take him prisoner soon. The heroes will make sure that they are captured along with Ugin, and the hero will be able to follow him. It is likely that Ugin will be able to enter their headquarters camp without any problems. The men were finally brought and taken into some room. This is great. We managed to enter the camp without incident. It's time to begin. The hero increased the goblin's level to 50 and also increased other skills. Woojin requested a body swap from the shadow goblin. The goblin replied that this honor is in the body of the owner. It's disgusting to switch bodies with a goblin, but it looks like Wu Jin has no choice. The shadow goblin moved. For starters, these two are from the front. Wu Jin will leave a mark on those who are not civilians. Finally, the hero found him, the rebel leader. The goblin asked if he could do legs. Wu Jin asked why. The goblin said that an execution was planned here, and that a bullet was about to be planted in Wu Jin's head. Wu Jin told the goblin to change. One of the rebels told those captured that according to God's commandments, each of them would receive punishment prepared from above. He demanded to bow before their God, and those who disobeyed would receive a punishment hundreds of times worse. There were 25 rebel soldiers, 18 hostages, and you could also hear the cries of countless souls who undeservedly died in this desert. Ugin told the rebels that they seem to love their God very much and he himself carries out the punishment. And they, the bastards, have no right to this. Wu Jin broke the rope that tied his hands. The rebels were shocked that the hero was awakened. They ordered to shoot and kill him, but Ugin was belligerent. Wu Jin approached one of them and said that trash like them is not even worthy of God's punishment and began to use force. This is for those souls who died here for nothing. Ugin also summoned an entire army of skeleton soldiers. The rebels began to run away, calling Wu Jin a demon. They ran away and continued to shoot at him, but the skeletons caught up with them. They ordered the gates to be closed immediately in order to escape. However, Ramson, the fourth knight of the immortal King Ugin, goes after their souls along with the soldiers. They broke through the gate. They showed themselves worthily before their immortal leader. Even if God does not deal with their punishment, it is unlikely that they will receive his blessing. This is just the beginning. Ujin will turn each of them into his own undead soldier. Ujin inspected the area. It looked like everyone had been eliminated, but it seemed like there should have been hostages left. One of the rebels grabbed the man and pointed a machine gun at him. He told Wu Jin not to move. This guy is the one with the bulging eyes who sells illegal weapons. The rebel said that if Wu Jin moves, this guy will die. The guy begged to be released in exchange for anything. Ugin used magic to remove the rebel, and the guy was able to untie his hands. The guy thanked Wu Jin for his help and asked if he was an American soldier. He asked the hero to say his name in order to repay him without fail. Wu Jin said it wasn't necessary. The guy started asking the hero why and offering to send the reward secretly. Ugin told the chatterbox to shut up and pointed a dagger at him. The guy said that this is wrong and an American soldier should not be rude to his own people, but civilian. The guy started threatening Wu Jin. Wu Jin pretended to apologize and put the dagger away. The guy started mumbling something else, but before he could finish speaking, Ujin suddenly struck him with a dagger. Wu Jin said that he was not an American soldier and that the guy should instead think about the countless lives that were lost on the battlefield. Wu Jin noticed that someone was filming him on the sly. He told the one who was hiding behind the stones to come out. He counts to 5, after which the guy will be dead if he doesn't show up. The guy came out. Wu Jin found out that he is a war correspondent and his name is Tom. Tom heard about the hostages, so he came here. Wu Jin replied that he was just in time. He said that Tom would follow him from now on and write everything down. Tom was confused, and Wu Jin told him that he would record the end of the Reign of Terror. Commander Morgan was shown some video. He asked what was going on and whether the rebels should have so many tanks. They will all move towards the base. Morgan asked if they had started fighting with each other. He was told that this report was sent by Hostage Rescue Team A. Arriving at rebel territory, the man responsible for taking 37 hostages was captured. Roman's corpse was also discovered, as expected of their awakened warriors. The commander asked about the losses, but, surprisingly, there were none. Morgan asked how it was possible that there were no casualties, even though they were fighting on their territory. The speaker replied that there was no resistance. Right now, some videos and images are being circulated on the internet. It said that the Messiah, Kang Wu Jin, had finally arrived in this war-torn land. Awakened from Korea has declared war on the terrorists. Kang Wu Jin's rage rages across the desert. Morgan asked if the video was real and where the subordinate got it from. The guy replied that it was taken from the social network of a war reporter named Tom. If so, then everything fits. All these enemy forces, as if for the final battle, are heading towards Ugin's undead army. Murdy prayed to the goddess. She said that the immortal was furious, but not for himself, but for the adults and children of distant countries. She thought about how nice it would be if Ugin protected Alphen instead of Ardal. If this had been the case, Alfin could have been saved. Murdy asked the goddess to let Ugin's anger lead to the destruction of Tranit and let a new order be established after his death. Meanwhile, the rebel leader was furious. He asked his subordinates about these damned skeletons. All major rebel bases were destroyed, including troops in cities under their control. The firearm was useless. And as if they understood, the skeletons only attacked the rebels. In addition, the leader is sure that they followed them and he was discovered. He said that they cannot die like this, with their hands folded. He said to prepare this, a warning to all terrorists from the necromancer Khan Ujin, and an announcement to the whole world were transmitted over the internet. The joint United Nations and United States forces have just begun to discuss troop and humanitarian assistance. Nothing has been decided yet. Kang Wu-jin and his 10,000 strong army of soldiers are on the verge of the final battle. There may be people who doubt a necromancer who controls such a large army. But among the abyss of despair, for the first time, he noticed a ray of hope. This is coming from someone who has been a war reporter for 15 years. And may Ugin be reborn as a god who will surpass the king of the undead. This victory will turn Ugin into a god. The goblin energy was approaching. Wu-jin wondered how long it would take him to run away, and finally he came out of his bunker. It's time to begin. Wu-jin told his group to burn the remaining trash. Ramson said he never thought the day would come when he would be able to fight side by side with his king. Wu-jin said he won't let you down. They told him that Ramson was a strong warrior. Ramson said that the prince had indeed become king, and they, together with the army of skeletons, headed into battle. They must kill everyone. The skeletons deftly killed the rebels, but they also shot back. They threw a shell at the army, and there was a big explosion. Rumson told Ugin to leave it to him. The rebels shot at him, but he didn't care. Ramson, using his power and magic, destroyed the enemy tank. Ugin told the warriors to attack. He also told the dead knights to capture it first. However, the hero saw a huge number of combat helicopters in the sky. The rebel leader said to send the hero's army to hell. All the helicopter pilots began dropping bombs and missiles on the army. Wu-jin said they separated. Their troops are surrounded, so it doesn't matter to them who is friend or enemy. The wizards intercepted the missiles and bombs with their magical charges. The pilots were in a panic and wanted to prepare for the second launch, but then Wu-jin blocked the way. He mercilessly killed the pilot. Ugin also used magic to immobilize the remaining helicopters, and one after another they began to fall to the ground. A huge transformer, formed from the wreckage of helicopters, also appeared in front of the rebels. The transformer began firing missiles and bombs at the rebels, which was very effective. The rebel leader could not believe that his troops were defeated. He was desperate, and then the leader of the monsters, Ugin, appeared behind him. The remaining rebels began to flee. However, Ugin killed them with one blow without getting up. The rebel leader began to insult Ugin, saying that he is evil and a bastard. God will be angry, and he will not forgive Ugin for this. But all Wu-jin had in his head were images of those poor children who were doomed to a terrible death. The hero said that he was just taking out the trash, and there was no reason for God to be angry. He cut off the head of the rebel leader with one blow. After the battle with the rebels, news spread everywhere that one man was able to end a war that even the United States could not cope with. The Americans, who were exhausted by the long war and the people caught on the battlefield, rejoiced for Kang Wu-jin. He became a hero all over the world. However, there were also those who feared his strength, comparable to an entire nation. Ironically, but most of all, they feared his strength. In the guild, the guys were talking and cutting off Sun-gu. Did he know about it? He replied that he knew about Ugin's strength, but he didn't think it was that strong. Commanding a 10,000 strong C-rank skeleton army is fantastic. Min Chang suggested that we look into what happened and discuss the plan, because even in Congress the atmosphere is not very good. What's worse is that they don't like that Wu-jin refused the agreement, and now that they know about his power, there's even more trouble. Xiong-hun asked why they were making it sound like they were staging a coup. Ha-min said that he heard that some members of Congress want to ban Wu-jin from entering the country. Suddenly, Xiong-hun saw a message about an emergency situation. The Daegu dungeon was breaking out on November 29th. Xiong-hun told Min Chan that there was a breakthrough. Chief Jun replied that this was impossible, since there was not a single dungeon in Daegu on the verge of a breakthrough. The news showed a report from an unexpectedly broken dungeon in the Jukjeong subway in Daegu. The metro area is currently in a state of emergency and is currently inaccessible. Soldiers in the immediate vicinity have been deployed to evacuate citizens, but monsters are constantly rising. The situation is unfavorable. The government declared martial law and appealed to the guilds. Min Chang couldn't believe that the stable dungeon had suddenly broken through. The alarm was ringing and one girl was home alone. She hid under the blanket in fear and begged her parents to take her. Suddenly, a huge monster appeared on the streets of the city, and he smelled the scent of a person. The monster saw the girl and broke the window into her apartment. He tried to grab her, but Baek Jong-do was in time and struck the monster, thereby saving the girl. His subordinates ran to him. Baek told the guys to get ready because there was a baby. He asked why there is still no army. He was told that they were still on a search and suppression operation in the east. Many civilians cannot find shelter and they cannot wait for them. Baek Jong-do said that it's good that only B-rank monsters are appearing so far. They might get over it pretty quickly. But what if this unexpected dungeon break doesn't end up as a one-off? It would be very good if this was a normal incident. 47 people died, 512 injured. Property damage amounting to 50 billion won. The impact of this mysterious dungeon breach is as great as the damage. Memories of breaking through the dungeon 5 years ago returned to people's minds. Many of them left the city out of fear. 2 days have passed since the breakthrough. Sun Gu asked Min Chang if he had already been able to contact the boss. Min Chan replied that Wu Jin seemed busy with the operation. He'll probably get in touch soon. Sun Gu said that he couldn't hang around here. He would have to train in the nearby low-rank dungeons. Even if only a little, he must become stronger. Min Chan said that in this case, it is better to be in touch and Seung Hoon should go with him. Sun Gu and Hei Seo arrived at the dungeon. They told Seung Hwan that they would be back in about 3 hours. Seung Hoon suggested that the rest of the guards simply stop at a nearby cafe. Suddenly, a mysterious man in a robe and mask walked past Seung Hoon. He didn't understand what it was. Seung Hoon thought that this someone smiled when he looked at him. Seung Hoon decided that he was just imagining things. Suddenly, Seung Hoon received a call from Ha Min. The guy panicked and asked Seung Hoon if Sun Gu and Hai Seo entered the dungeon. Seung Hoon said yes, and Ha Min said they had problems. It turned out that the sedan station had recently broken through. Seung Hoon was shocked by what he heard. Meanwhile, Sun Gu and Hai Seo trained with each other. They finished and shook hands. The training went great. Hei Seo said that she is amazed by Sun Gu's skills. How many times she sees them. She thinks that he is as good as those who awakened with abilities based on physical strength. Sun Gu modestly replied that he still has room to grow if he compares himself to his boss. No, he said it was better to compare him to a death knight. Sun Gu almost died when he sparred with Kiba before Wu Jin left for the Middle East. Anyway, Hei Seo and Sun Gu decided to go out, but when they went out, they saw a disaster in the city. They asked the wounded awakened one about how this happened. He replied that there had been an explosion at the sedan station. It all started with the breaking of a 6-star dungeon. But then 4- and 5-star dungeons began to break through. Sun Gu was confused that high-ranking dungeons began to break through just like that. He has many relatives in Sedan. He asked Hei So if she could handle everything because he had to go to Sedan. People ran away in panic from numerous monsters. They keep coming. But the president of the Hammer Guild, A rank of the Republic of Korea, Park Sang-oh, stopped the monsters with the help of his wind ability. He saw Min Chan asking all residents to go to the headquarters of the Hammer Guild, because staying in the bunker was much safer than in any other place. Sang-oh walked up to him. He told Min Chan that who would have thought that they would meet in such a situation. This is strange, because Ming Chang was once one of his best subordinates, but now he has become the vice president of a rival guild. Min Chan said that the awakened ones from their guild would arrive soon, and asked to wait a little longer. Sang-oh said that it was dangerous here, and asked to go to the shelter. Sang-oh thought that in the Ardal Guild only Kong Wu Jin deserves attention, so he doesn't expect anything special. He began